Daniel moved through the ancient corridors of the citadel, its vast control panel pulsing with dormant energy. This crumbling Feldrock fortress, steeped in legend and feared across the demon realm, had remained unconquered for generations. Now, it responded only to him. Once guarded by a feral Feldrock, an unstoppable beast of wild origin, the citadel had resisted even the might of the dragons who had long sought to claim it. Yet Daniel, a man with no visible magical power, had slain the beast in 3 strikes using a strange weapon, a thunderous staff foreign to this world. The caretaker golem stood beside him, observing as Daniel mastered the panel's functions with uncanny ease. "Strange master," she remarked suddenly. Daniel raised an eyebrow.
"What is?"
"I detect no mana within you.
No cloaking spells. No deception.
Logically, you should not be able to operate this structure. Unless you exceed the power of its creators."
Daniel chuckled.
"Occam's razor."
Occam.
The simplest answer is often correct. I truly don't have magic.
No mana.
Spells don't affect me, good or bad.
Fascinating.
That should be impossible. Daniel paused, turning toward Hecate, then addressed the caretaker again.
"Tell me something.
Why does the citadel accept me at all?" The golem tilted her head. "My creators wished the citadel to endure beyond their extinction. Thus, I was designed to guide new residents, regardless of magical aptitude. Now I understand why they did not bind that function to mana."
Then it's time I explain.
"I'm not from this world. I was summoned, and while the one who came with me gained mana.
I did not.
My tools, my weapons, they don't belong here. That's why they're so dangerous." The revelation was met with silence until the caretaker calmly replied, "Understood, master. I shall seek out relevant summoning spells from the archives."
Daniel nodded. "Thank you."
"I doubt I can go back, but it's something I wonder. The man who arrived with me may wish to return." Hecate suddenly clutched his shirt.
"No. Daniel, no."
He smiled, patting her head. "Relax. I didn't say I'd leave. I just want to know the truth." The caretaker tilted her head. "Did you slay the Feldrock for power?" Daniel shook his head.
"No. For Hecate."
"I'm searching for someone else." He turned to Hecate, who met his gaze. "I'm hunting a dragon." The golem, unfazed, murmured, "Ironic. Had a dragon restarted the citadel, I would be bound to them. But the dragons cost me everything." Daniel narrowed his eyes. "I believe Hecate was sent to try to defeat the feral Feldrock. If she failed, the citadel was considered a loss." "Likely correct, master," the golem agreed. "Can the citadel resist dragons?" "Absolutely. It took betrayal to bring it down. Now, with its reserves restored, no force can breach it unless allowed access." Daniel turned to Hecate. "Until your collar is removed, I'm disabling your access to the citadel's defenses." She nodded, leaning against him. "Caretaker, remove her access."
"Done."
"Prepare a defense barrier. Let Hecate and I pass freely, but no others." "As you wish." As construction golems mended the damaged ceiling, Daniel pondered.
"Caretaker? Who were you before?" "Pardon?"
"You said you served the masters. What was your name?" The golem hesitated. Then, in a softer tone, she said, "I was Zyriko.
A Datakorian woman.
I cared for Feldrock children during expeditions." "Zyriko. I'd like to call you that." "If it pleases you, master."
"It does."
"And you may call me Daniel." "That is impossible."
He chuckled. "Fair enough."
Daniel learned more, that Zyriko had died long ago and her consciousness lived on within the citadel. The fortress itself held facilities for crafting, learning, storage, and could support a city of 500,000 for decades using magic. Eventually, the top floor was secured. Hecate's stomach growled, and Daniel, smiling, pulled out a cooking kit. Zyriko interjected. "Master, let me prepare the meal." Soon, a table and chairs appeared. She used Daniel's ingredients to prepare a meal worthy of royalty. Hecate pouted, but couldn't deny the taste. Daniel, impressed, praised Zyriko. "This might be the best food I've had since coming here."
She bowed.
"I am yours to serve."
"Thanks."
"I think I could get used to this." They discussed citadel manufacturing. Daniel presented a bullet cartridge. Zyriko analyzed it.
"Alchemy powder?
Dragon tooth? This is a weapon." He explained its function, a sound-breaking projectile launcher.
No magic? She asked. No.
Anyone can use it? In theory. Zyriko gripped his hands. You could arm dragon slayers.
Daniel nodded.
But only if necessary. I want defense, not war. Zyriko promised secrecy and support.
Show me more.
As Daniel began sketching devices from Earth, Hecate watched him with admiration. Far away, a magical presence vanished. Vergraze, queen of the Yuletol, jolted awake, her instinct screaming. From her high temple atop the central demon realm peak, she sensed the absence of something ancient. The feral Feldrock was gone. She rushed to summon her council, demanding an audience with the Dragon Lord. But word came back, he was already en route to the Citadel, bringing his kin. The danger was clear. If the Citadel had fallen, the world was on the brink.
To the Citadel. Now, she ordered.
Wyverns launched into the skies. The queen raced against time. But as the Citadel's towering silhouette emerged on the horizon, she knew it was already too late. Vergraze pushed her wyvern to its limit, the beast's breaths ragged as it tore through the sky. They had flown an impossible distance in mere hours, but there was no time to rest. The feral Feldrock, long the Citadel's unchallenged guardian, was dead. And there could only be one responsible party. The dragons were already on their way to the Citadel. The past had been rewritten. As the formidable stronghold came into view, Vergraze urged her wyvern to fly faster. Behind her, elite demonkin riders struggled to keep pace. She was so focused, she barely noticed how vulnerable she was. Like the dragons, she too was not immune to whatever power now dwelled within the Citadel. Her heart dropped when she saw the truth. One of the youngest female dragons, orange-scaled and radiant, was trapped in the air, clawing desperately at an invisible wall. Beneath her, a dead dragon lay sprawled across a landing platform, its final moments frozen in an attempted escape. The Citadel's legendary barrier had returned. For centuries, the fortress had been dormant, abandoned after the feral Feldrock reclaimed it in blood. The dragons, once would-be conquerors, had retreated in fear. Vergraze had heard the truth of the betrayal from her great-grandfather. The dragons had once deceived the Feldrocks. The truth had long been buried in political peace, but the ancient hatred lingered. And now, the impossible had become reality. Vergraze flew closer, the orange dragon's voice ringing out, "My queen! Please, you must hell."
Boom!
A thunderous blast shook the sky. Vergraze nearly lost her grip. Riders behind her were less lucky, their wyverns scattering in panic, some plunging from the air. Rescue teams dove instinctively to save them. Below, the orange dragon's body spiraled downward, lifeless. At the source of the blast stood a solitary figure on the Citadel's flyway, unmoving. Vergraze strained to sense him. Nothing. No magic, no presence, not even concealment spells. Not even the Feldrocks could hide from her senses. And yet, she felt nothing. The man held a long, unfamiliar staff. Smoke coiled from its tip. Crimson metal shimmered along its length.
He didn't speak.
He simply turned, calm as silence, and walked into the Citadel. When the queen landed, the council gathered hastily around her. "What do we do, your majesty?" one demanded. Vergraze remained still, eyes on the empty flyway.
Her thoughts raced.
Was the Citadel masking his magic? Or was he truly that powerful? Where were the other dragons? What else lay within? Suddenly, the dragon's body vanished. The barrier dropped. The council erupted. The barrier is down. It must have lost power.
It's a trap. Don't go in.
We have to know what happened to the dragons. It might be our only chance. The queen silenced them with a raised hand.
Her voice was clear.
Fall back to a safe distance. I'll enter alone. Your Majesty? If it's a trap, I alone will fall. Better me than all of you. And if I can speak with him, maybe I can prevent more bloodshed. This is madness. She fixed them with a sharp glare. If we challenge this enemy on his terms, he could destroy us. Perhaps not today, but soon. Would you rather he bring war to your lands?
The council fell silent.
None could argue. She spurred her wyvern forward, heart heavy but resolute. If this harbinger of calamity truly possessed such power, she would confront him.
And perhaps, plead for peace.
Hey, welcome to Firescale Audiobooks. If you enjoy our audiobooks, please consider subscribing to the channel. Also, feel free to share your review in the comments section below.
The Yuletol are a race of beautiful humanoids with dual-color skin, patterned with markings that are often considered the markings of the evil gods or divine specters, but in reality, are are just the natural patterns that form on their skin. Vergraze, the demon queen, is actually a shrine priestess for the Yuletol, a sort of holy woman in tune with the magic of the world. While that doesn't mean she is a goddess of magic by any means, she is considered among the most powerful in the world, thanks to her carefully curated bloodline. Her horns are modest and accentuate her silvery violet hair, and her face is a pretty blend of creamy gray and bronze, looking somewhat like a latte with cream swirls at a glance. Her eyes have pupils shaped like a soft four-pointed star, and bright, amber irises. She lands her wyvern on the flyway, where moments ago, a dragon's corpse was lying. Just as suddenly, it has disappeared. She doesn't dare let her mind wander without cause though. It was no illusion. She felt every one of the dragons and their respective magic vanish. Not all of them are dead. And, with revival potions. The queen herself only has a couple at her disposal, so it'll come down to a choice. But first, she needs to know who and what she's up against. She walks the flyway with the wyvern, and it crawls awkwardly, nervously glancing around. She does her best to calm it without magic, but she is forced to use hypnosis spells to keep it calm. After all, the citadel is a place of death. It has been for centuries. The only creatures that resided there for the longest time were monsters that unwittingly hid within its structure and small creatures too small to be chased out by the feral Feldrock. With that, it is eerily quiet. There is almost no mana present, save what is locked within the walls of the citadel, and what resides in the dragons and one other strange being. She enters into the dim lighting of the interior, which is lit to a cool blue color that would be difficult for a human to see in, as far as she knows. But, she only heard rumors that the Feldrock sorcerer is a human. And that is when their eyes meet. Sitting casually in a chair in the middle of the massive room, unfitting the relative sizes, is what appears to be nothing more than a human man, cradling his terrible staff across his arms. Behind him stands a girl with big, triangular fox-like ears and a massive bushy black. Vergraze nearly stumbles. The girl possesses a massive amount of mana and magic power. It wouldn't be unreasonable to assume her own aura is drowning out the humans. However, she also knows the human emits no presence in the realm of magic. Vergraze turns and pets her wyvern, cooing, "Stay, stay. Good boy." She then approaches a little closer to the Feldrock girl and the sorcerer she is standing behind. The demon queen sinks to a kneel, and then a bow on the ground. This seems to surprise the human, as it's audible in his tone.
Excuse me. Do you speak Imperial Common? Eastern Common.
The demon queen confirms with a nod.
Yes.
I can speak all shared languages, as well as Higher Demon and Draconic. I am afraid I only know words of the Feldrock language though.
Imperial Common is fine.
Please raise your head. She looks up at him, lifting only her head, and he sighs.
All right.
I deserve that.
Sit or stand up.
I just want to talk. This surprises Vergraze. She asks softly as she cautiously rises to sit on her calves, "Do you know who I am?" An Yuletol ruler, colloquially known as the Demon Queen, yes? She is stunned for a long time. Is that not correct?
And no.
No, I mean yes. Yes, you're correct, but I'm surprised. Most refer to us as higher demons. I'll admit, I didn't know your race until about 30 seconds ago. My name is Daniel. I am the new master of the Citadel. I kinda like it, so I intend to keep it. Oh, but I did intend to kill the Dragon Lord with or without the Citadel, so I hope you're not here to bargain for his life specifically.
She flinches. D. Daniel? A dash?
Are you also the one known as the Harbinger of Calamity?
The human chuckles.
My regret is how far that name spread. I'm not a true Harbinger of Calamity, but I called myself that to rattle the dragon I first killed. When I learned it stuck, I kept using it. Vergraze swallows.
This is him?
A human without magic? This is the one known as the Harbinger of Calamity, and the Feldrock sorcerer? She glances at the girl behind him. Daniel states, "This is Hecate. She's in my care. She's the other reason you're not here to bargain for the Dragon Lord's life." Vergraze gives a disappointed nod. She knew that the Dragon Lord had a powerful slave, but she had never met the girl. Now that she sees. Excuse me. Do you know what that girl is?
Not a clue.
But, I noticed something. What is it? I've introduced the two of us, told you a little about ourselves, and you still haven't even said your name. Vergraze flinches. She bows her head. Forgive me. I assumed that you knew my name. I am Vergraze, unofficial queen of demons. Vergraze.
Pretty name.
She cocks her head, and Daniel shifts a little, but only for comfort in his chair. I noticed you outside, so I'm sure you saw what was going on before I allowed you to enter. Would you like to start with your business, or should I make my assumptions and send you on your way immediately with empty hands? His tone is curt, and he's being intentionally rude, but it sounds unnatural to his voice. I brought my forces here to try to intervene and stop the dragons from attacking the citadel. When I heard the feral Feldrock had fallen, and that they were on their way here, I suspected you were the one who was here waiting for them.
Interesting. You were right.
Have I really become that notorious? Daniel glances at Hecate, and she cocks her head in surprise. She blurts out, yes. Vergraze nods in agreement. Yes, certainly. You killed a dragon. Single-handedly. No one in this world, save an actual Feldrock, should have been able to do that.
I see.
Well, as you can see, the battle is already over, so if you promise not to return, I'll allow you to leave, since you arrived with diplomatic intentions.
If you'd please.
I need the strength of the dragons.
I'm a human.
Why would I want to give you super soldiers for your war against my people? The queen flinches and looks away.
He has a point, but he has the wrong idea.
That said, would he believe the truth?
She swallows.
I accept responsibility for the invasion. But if you would do me the honor, there is a reason. Everyone has justifications for their actions. Sometimes, they're even good. The devourer will consume this whole world. This causes Daniel to halt, and he cocks his head. He looks at Hecate, and she shakes her head this time. After a moment of pondering, Daniel replies, I'll bite. Who's the devourer?
Not a who but a what.
It's a giant being of unknown origin that grows larger and larger every day. It's currently the size of 3 of your kingdoms, and it continues to grow. It's consuming everything from its origin, the land, the people, the magic. No magic attacks can stop it. No physical attacks can damage it. It simply consumes, and it can't be destroyed. We're not talking about a fire, are we?
Of course not.
Vergraze flinches and clears her throat. Please forgive my outburst. I'm not speaking in metaphors. The devourer is a creature, but one the likes of which no one has ever seen before. It is pitch black and can even attack things that get too close. It prioritizes devouring beings with strong magic. So, how does this devourer explain your invasion? We've tried to petition evacuations from the Easterners for decades, but every time, we are met with hostility. Finally forced in hand, we had no choice but to wage war and push the Eastern Empire back. As you surely know, we've been at a stalemate for a few years. That is not an accident. We're surviving for now, and still trying to petition aid while trying to find anything to defeat the devourer.
I see.
Daniel rubs his chin in thought. He asks as he thinks, what use are the dragons then? I assume you've already tried to get them to burn this thing, and they couldn't, right? Vergraze nods reluctantly. Regardless, they are the only other comparable sources of magic to myself, and if we find a way to harm the devourer, she bows down again. Please, Daniel, Lord of the Citadel, great Feldrock sorcerer, and the harbinger of calamity.
Please. Hang on.
Did you call me what I think you did?
My lord. Yeah, hold on. Scrub all of that.
Just Daniel.
That's it.
I know I didn't introduce myself as that second nickname. Feldrock sorcerer?
Daniel palms his forehead. Damn it.
I knew they couldn't keep quiet.
MIL dash. No. No. Just Daniel, please.
I'm not trying to leave a profound mark on this world.
But, I guess I can't stop that now, can I? Anyways, what did you want? No titles.
Just tell me. Vergraze hesitates, and she murmurs, the dragons. Please return them to me. I need them. If you can accept that the dragon lord himself is off the table, I'm open to negotiate. She hesitates, but ultimately agrees. I am willing to negotiate as well. But also, Lord Daniel, the devourer. You're going to ask me to help kill it, right? She nods gently. And if I do, the war will be over, right? There will likely be lingering embers, but we will no longer be forced to invade eastward. My desire is to end the war and hold the borders as they are until the destroyed land can be restored. Daniel nods as he digests the information. And, have you asked yourself why your hypnosis isn't taking effect?
She flinches.
Hecate has been replaced with an illusion once my associate detected it. However, I should inform you, I am immune to magic. Vergraze's eyes widen.
Yep.
Sorry to disappoint you. It's a little disappointing that you would try.
Please wait. Vergraze jumps to her feet, exclaiming, I'm afraid. I admit it. I tried to test you, but I shouldn't have. I'm sorry. If I couldn't, she looks down. I just want to save my people. The world is in danger, but the Yuletol were the first affected. I am truly sorry. I'm desperate. She begins stripping her outer clothes, saying, I offer you everything if you will help destroy the devourer. This I swear to you. I will sign any contract and gift to you my very mind, body, and soul. You may have your way with me. My children will only be yours. My heart will only belong to Dash. Please calm down. There's no need for such dramatic gestures. I have means to verify your story, and I will make my decision then. What do you wish to offer for the dragons? Vergraze hesitates. Please don't misunderstand when I say, I am prepared to offer myself as prisoner of war in exchange for all of the dragons. Excluding the Dragon Lord, right? She reluctantly agrees after a moment of hesitation. If I have no choice. Then, let me ask you, who is supposed to keep them in check while you're a prisoner? // She twitches. Daniel explains his reasoning. The Dragon Lord is a warmonger, and his brother was aggressive and selfish. Thankfully, that worked against him. The Green Dragon was a vile being extorting poor villages. Those are the three I have personal experience with. Judging by their behavior, the White Dragon and the Cobalt Dragon are each mature and level-headed, but they're both female, right? I specifically didn't kill those two because they look like they can be reasoned with. Unfortunately, the others. What you speak is true. The dragons are a haughty and proud race. But if they were to follow the fate of the Feldrox, Vergraze glances once more at Hecate, whose illusion still stands with Daniel. Wherever her actual body is, she's still part of the conversation, even if she doesn't have much to say. Regardless, she doesn't flinch. Does she not even know? In fact, the only thing that seemed to rattle the young girl was when the Demon Queen offered him her body and to bear his children. Just then, though, she has an idea. Lord Daniel, just Daniel. There is a way for you to ensure your will holds, even reviving all of the dragons. Just as Hecate was bound by a slave contract to the Dragon Lord, you could bind the dragons to your will through magic contract. Oh? That's a thing here. Surprised by his strange response, she nods. Yes, indeed. Did you already know about it? Not exactly, but it's convenient. Then, still excluding the Dragon Lord, I will look into this option. How long until the Devourer becomes a problem directly? Months, by our current estimates. Good. Then return here in 2 weeks, and I will report on the results of my research. If the dragons accepting the Dragon Lord can be controlled in the manner you speak of, I will release them to your custody. If I may, Lord Daniel, I happily accept these terms, but I have a question. Go ahead. What has the Dragon Lord done to earn your undying wrath? I'll answer you, but are you telling me you really don't know? She remains silent, averting her eyes. True, the Dragon Lord was a rather aggressive and wicked being, but he is a warmonger for one. He is the one that wanted to invade the day that he sent his brother to attack the fortress I was at. I was laying low, but he intended to slaughter people I came to care about. Whether you understood or not, I'm intending to give you his brother, assuming I can contract him as you claim. It was the Lord's order after all. Then, there's Hecate. I can't let him be revived if his enslavement of Hecate will continue. Hecate's eyes glimmer in shock as she looks at Daniel with surprise. Daniel adds, he also ordered the extortion of the Datakorians, the goblins, the ogres, the Chirinis, and all of the other races that you claim to care about. If that is the kind of queen you are, then I don't have much hope for your judgment of your fellow nobility. I'm not actually a queen. You mentioned that. Otherwise, I'd call you your majesty, and probably be more inclined to listen to you. But as the Dragon Lord proved, your authority only matters when they want you to carry the blame. When those in power wish to do things that bring wrath upon them, you wish to defend them. I never wanted power, but I also can't turn a blind eye to the suffering of normal people. She stammers for a moment, before bowing. Why dash? You're right. I have no business leading. But I have to. I have to try. Daniel sighs. Go. Return in 2 weeks. If you were telling the truth, we'll work together to a mutually beneficial goal. If you aren't telling the truth, well, let's just say, you'll be leaving empty-handed or not at all. I am telling the truth. Good. Then, I look forward to returning your dragons to you. All but the Dragon Lord. She bows.
Thank you very much. Just as she turns around, Daniel calls out, Lady Vergraze, one moment. She turns back, saying nothing but looking directly at him. I'll offer you an olive branch of trust. Do you know the spell for comprehend and speak languages, offhand? I'd like for Hecate to be able to use it. She cocks her head, as does Hecate, emphasized by her big foxy ears, which cock to the side as well.
I do. Good.
Please write it down. Daniel extracts a quill pen and a scroll from his magic bag, and he finally stands up to walk it to the Demon Queen. She had thought that he had magical defenses in place, but he shows no fear when he approaches her. He's especially tall for a human, and he looks down at her when they're standing close to each other. He hands the pen and scroll to her. If you would please. She nods in agreement, taking the scroll. He presents a table for her, and she quickly walks to it, writing down the spell for granting the user the ability to speak languages. She thought only briefly about writing something else, however, she pushes her tactical instincts out of her mind. Daniel is offering a chance to earn his trust. It's a long way to go, but this is the first step.
And she wants his trust.
He showed that he can be noble and trustworthy, and if he intends to return the dragons, then he must be storing the deceased in magic bags. They won't rot or age, meaning as soon as revival potations can be used, they'll recover right away without issues. She hands the scroll to Daniel, saying, this will last indefinitely, but only works on languages that can be spoken, not just read. It translates the most recently heard language after casting. That satisfies Daniel.
Thank you.
I look forward to our next meeting. The way he said that sends a little tremor through her body. She doesn't realize she forgets to let go of the scroll as she stares into his eyes. It's now that she sees what she heard earlier, his voice isn't cruel by nature. He sounds rather kind. He's rather attractive for a human, now that she thinks about it, and he is clearly strong, even without magic. Especially if he's immune to magic. Wait. What would that do to our children? Would they be immune to magic and unable to use it? Or would they possess both traits? Daniel clears his throat, and she flinches, releasing the scroll.
Sorry. I'll be going now.
Until we meet again. The priestess bows quickly and scurries back to her wyvern, guiding it out by the reins to take off and join her comrades. Her heart is racing and her cheeks are full of color. What is this? Daniel watches the Demon Queen fly away, and Hecate reappears, thanks to Zyriko, who also appears nearby. The Citadel's ability to teleport individuals is quite handy, especially considering it is miles across and tall. Daniel presents the scroll to Zyriko. Can you verify this is a proper spell and its effects, Zyriko?
Of course. One moment.
She takes the scroll and disappears for a moment. She reappears with the scroll a moment later. It is as you requested of the Shrine Priestess. It is a spell designed simply to grant the user language comprehension and speech.
Good.
Please give it to Hecate. She nods obediently, handing the scroll to Hecate. The young girl glances between them, and then the scroll in her hands. Zyriko explains, you simply need to pronounce it phonetically, Lady Hecate. Then nod, and either myself or Daniel can produce words in the Imperial Common Language. Hecate nods her head in understanding. She takes the scroll and reads it aloud. After, she can feel the spell's magic well up inside her, just like using her other attack spells. She nods again, this time for the signal, and Daniel asks, I know you can understand me, Hecate, but can you speak to me now? Hecate waits a moment, feeling the spell dissipate and a swirl of something in her brain. She clears her throat, cautiously saying, Daniel. Did the spell work?
She gasps. I spoke
your language.
You did.
Great job, Hecate.
Oof.
Daniel coughs as Hecate pounces and hugs him, exclaiming, Daniel.
Daniel.
I can talk to you.
Listen.
I have to tell you something.
Calm down.
What is it, Hecate?
Tell me.
Hecate tenses, squeaking.
I
can talk to you now. Daniel chuckles as she dangles from his shoulders, hugging his waist with her legs.
He pets her head. Good job, Hecate. You worked hard.
Her ears flatten down, and she asks softly, You aren't angry with me? Angry with you? I brought the dragons here.
Yeah, and don't you feel? Aren't you
You were enslaved, right? I had guessed that, but I never truly heard it, I guess. She nods with disappointment. Why yes.
But I still.
I misled you intentionally. I relied on you telling them how to get in. I was worried the dragons would kill you, but I'd have come to get you if that happened. Instead, they marched right into my trap. It couldn't have gone better. And, judging by the Demon Queen's arrival, we got most if not all of them. Particularly the Dragon Lord. Screw that guy. Hecate sniffles as she begins to cry.
Daniel.
She sobs as she buries her face in his collar, and Daniel pets her back as she continues to hang from him. Fortunately, she's pretty small compared to him. He ignores her weight, looking at Zyriko as he comforts her. Is there any truth to Vergraze's words about the contract magic? Yes, though it is admittedly an Yuletol specialty. However, Zyriko trails off with a smug-sounding tone in her voice. Daniel plays along with a smirk, however. My former masters ensured to catalog all available knowledge, including magic specialties of the Yuletol. I probably could have guessed that.
But you didn't, Master.
So, I've had units searching the archives since your discussion. I'll alert you as soon as I find the associated information.
Thank you.
I couldn't do this without you, Zyriko. Yes, well, you reached the control panel under your own power, and you've devised strategies that are less direct than I would expect. It is a genuine honor and pleasure to have you for a master. Daniel acknowledges with a nod. Let me know when the dragons awaken, and keep them isolated. Telepathy included, if possible.
Don't worry, Master.
I have just the plan. I'll leave it to you. But keep the living ones alive, please. Including the ones that I only wounded. It'll be inconvenient to burn a bunch of revival potations, since they'll all likely hate us anyways.
As you wish, Master.
I understand why you'd want to lay claim to the Shrine Priestess. I have no intention on collecting on her offer. By the sounds of it, there won't be anything I can do about this devourer anyways.
About that,
physical attacks are the only thing that damages it, apparently.
You knew about it?
Yes. Its skin is durable, but with your weapons. She said it's the size of a country. My rifle's not going to cut it. Did you not mention that your rifle could be upscaled, Master?
Daniel scoffs.
Pfft. Yeah, but unless we're firing a tungsten rod from orbit, he trails off. Orbit, Master? I don't have the know-how to make a rocket reach orbit, so forget about that.
However.
There's a pause and Zyriko eagerly asks, however.
He chuckles. Sorry.
I didn't mean to do what you did. What's that supposed to mean, Master? Exactly what I said.
I did have an idea. Any
chance you know what uranium is?
I'm afraid not. Daniel sighs.
That would be too easy. Of course, what about dead spots in the mountains?
Of course.
It's a material that produces a field that negates magic. In fact, just being in its presence for too long is deadly to most living beings.
You don't say.
The Feldrox had no use for it, and it killed many civilians, unfortunately. If I told you that I wanted exactly that material, and as much as I could get, would your golems be able to retrieve it? I suppose, Master. But they won't be able to get close, due to our magic power source. Hecate leans from Daniel's shoulder finally, asking, what if I get it for you? He chuckles, petting her head. I appreciate the thought, but it'd be harmful for you, so I'd rather not. I suspect that material might be close enough or similar to what I need. And if we can get what I need, I might actually be able to deal with the Devourer. Failing that, we'll build a rocket.
Maybe.
Zyriko eagerly says, Master. If you will leave it to me, I shall get you that material.
Daniel cocks his head.
Oh.
She nods confidently. Leave it to me.
I'll figure something out. I want to see what you come up with. Daniel agrees, a little curious about what she'll do.
Very well. Please do.
But if you know about the Devourer, I'd like you to tell me all you know about it. Given its size and appearance, Master, as well as its massive mana presence, I believe there is only one possible answer in this world. Daniel cocks his head, but he notices Zyriko's head shift, her gaze changing to another target, Hecate.
A Feldrock.
That was one of the first things you told me, wasn't it? There were 3 Feldrocks you acknowledged. That is my belief, Master.
Daniel sighs. Well,
I hate to admit it then, but there probably is only one person that can defeat it, huh? Zadaralome awakens in unfamiliar surroundings. It appears to be a small, confined room with a door too small for her to enter or exit in her true form.
She looks around.
She's alone in the room, and she inspects herself. She has no apparent injuries. Every one of her pearlescent white scales is intact. Her heart aches for the other dragons. She's not foolish enough to believe she had a dream. It was far too real, and she knows instinctively that she's a prisoner right now, not least of the reasons being that she can't detect any magic around herself or the world at large. She's isolated. That is, until a presence appears at the door. She recoils a little. As before, she could not detect a single trace of mana from him as he entered the room. He's carrying his strange staff, held horizontally towards her. She recoils towards the back of her room a little on instinct. She, along with the other dragons, had lived for hundreds of years with no reason to fear. The only way humans and humankin have ever possessed to kill them requires armies and devastating amounts of offensive magic to try to harm them. 2 dragons together would be undefeatable. Normally. Zadaralome doesn't understand, and that lack of understanding has instilled fear in her heart. He commands the citadel, which means they had already lost when they arrived. The Dragon Lord was too quick to act because he believed the word of the little slave he sent to conquer the ancient Feldrock castle. And, entering just behind the Feldrock sorcerer is that very same little former slave girl, as well as a golem with a Feldrock's natural head shape. The fact that all 3 of them are entering means that Zadaralome is completely helpless, or they will take more caution. The human greets her in the Eastern language. Good evening, majestic White Queen. Apologies if that's not your actual title, but the only way Hecate knew to describe you was as a queen. And since I've met the alleged demon queen Vergraze, I've had some suspicions confirmed. Before that, though, I'm Daniel. The girl you know is now known as Hecate. Show her due respect. And this is our friend Zyriko. For the time being, you're our captive. I hoped we could talk. Zadaralome hesitates, studying the 3 of them for a moment. She murmurs, well met, human. Forgive me, but we dragons do not give out our true names to non-dragons. You may refer to me as White or Pearl, and I will respond. I see. You may change your mind after you hear what I have to offer. The dragon raises her head, holding her tongue. It's rare for such a small being to speak so disrespectfully and directly to a dragon, but then, this tiny being is the first and only person in the world to slay the dragon single-handedly. Daniel lifts his strange staff, and Zadaralome flinches slightly, regretting showing such fear. Fortunately, he simply lays it over his shoulder, freeing up his left hand. I have it on extremely good authority that no dragon eggs have been laid in decades. And the last handful of dragons born over the last few centuries perished due to their own biology. Again, the pearlescent dragon can't help but twitch. He knows more than he should somehow. Is this the wisdom of the Citadel's magic? Or did one of the others confess? The girl, Hecate, should not have known. Were that true, who dash? Lord Daniel, what offer do you make? Daniel gestures at Zyriko, the golem, stating confidently, my companion knows how to break the curse that was placed on all who came in physical contact with the traitor. As soon as she recoils, Daniel's gaze narrows on the dragon. He has her completely cornered. He knows everything. He nods as if reading her mind. That's right, your majesty. It was one last desperate grasp for life by a race yours tried to exterminate. A curse that he carried with him and passed on to all dragons he came in contact with. Including children. Now, let me just take a stab in the dark at who that could have been. Big Red, the Dragon Lord. Zadaralome looks away from him in shame. She advised against driving the Feldrocks to extinction, but the feral Feldrock prevented conquering the citadel after all, and then the dragons couldn't recover their population in the slightest. As if to spite his own kind, he didn't listen, and Zadaralome was relatively young at that time. He wouldn't listen to her. Regardless. I saw the males slain. Do you intend to breed us yourself, Lord Daniel? She looks directly at him with the coldest gaze she can manage. She won't be so easily. She flinches a little when she notices Hecate glaring hatefully at her, glancing nervously at Daniel in alternation. What is with people of this world? Listen, if there were literally no other options, it wouldn't be off the table. But, I haven't decided whether or not I'll revive the male dragons. At his statement about no other options, Hecate now glares at Daniel skeptically. However, the significance of being willing to revive his enemies is not lost on Zadaralome. Piecing it all together, she cocks her head. In exchange for my servitude, you would cure this curse that we had never detected, and even be willing to revive a male to continue our species? Daniel confirms with a nod. Or, you can rot away in this cell for the rest of your lifespan. Whichever you choose. But the Demon Queen wants your help, that is, all of you dragons dash, and I'm not keen on letting you wander around scheming to kill me. Otherwise, your will shall be your own. She ponders it for a long time. She can easily outlive the human, but if he binds her to Hecate or the golem.
You seem hesitant.
But I assure you I'm just a human, so you could outlive a contract with me, yes? Of course, by that time, Hecate will be more than safe from you, so I shouldn't have to worry. Why dash? The contract would be with you? Not your companions. That's right, confirms Daniel. Believe it or not, I'm probably the easiest one here to kill. Until my mission is complete, I can't die. Or rather, I don't want to. After that, there's only so much I can do for the world as myself. So, what do you say? Spend the next 60 years or so bound to me, only so you can't kill me or harm anyone I care about in exchange for a future. Or, spend that future in here. For now, I'm the master of the citadel. If I decide not to grant Vergraze's wishes, then there's not a whole hell of a lot she can do. And because she can't track me through magic, she probably won't be able to do anything about it if I keep you prisoner. But if we work together, maybe we can accomplish something better. After another moment, Zadaralome makes her decision. She casts a simple spell, which puts all three of the others on guard, but she knows that there's a barrier separating them. She knows because there's no way they'd take even a small chance. The spell she casts is simple though. Her form becomes much smaller, and similar to Hecate, drastically alters her true form. She steps out of the swirling mist and light of the transformation, standing much smaller, but on much more equal terms to those she will be working with. My name is Zadaralome of the Dragon Clan. To actually pronounce my name in this language is impossible, but the name I just gave will serve the contract.
She bows.
Please, if you can save my race, I will help you however I can. Daniel says with a gentle tone, I was hoping you'd say that.
Zairiko steps forward, excellent.
Then, this is where I step in. She sets up storage bags and draws the ingredients from each of them, preparing the contract spell. Zadaralome is hesitant, but it's her only real option at this point. She needs to trust the human for now or face death.
That much is certain.
As Zairiko sets up the contract spell around Zadaralome, Daniel studies the almost human that was once a humongous dragon before them. He's not sure if she chose the specific form her human form takes. Hecate now knows that she's a Feldrock, but it seems she doesn't know the spell to transform herself, nor does she want to. She seems to be just as powerful as she could be even in her tiny form, so she doesn't care about the size and shape of her true form. Where Hecate looks like a preteen girl, Zadaralome would be what Daniel would define as a MILF, and he doesn't even like using or thinking that term in general. Regardless of his thoughts on the matter, Zadaralome is truly beautiful, even though her apparent age is around mid-30s to mid-40s. She has a well-endowed but modest figure, shrouded by an elegant white and off-white dress that isn't nearly as bulky or frilly as a Victorian-era dress, but maintains a similar conservative appeal of beauty. Her curved, golden horns rise out of her shining silvery amber-colored hair, and a smaller version of her scaly tail peeks out from the bottom of her dress. She carries the grace of a noblewoman with ease, and an impeccable and proud posture. Zairiko then instructs Daniel through the casting of the spell. He's skeptical that it'll work, due to his lack of magic, but Zairiko believes it will be fine, since the spell actually only affects the indentured servant. He just won't have the additional perks of being able to magically sense where she is, command her telepathically, or know her general health subconsciously. Once complete, a magic swirl passes around Zadaralome, and she watches it idly, still standing by with her elegant posture. Afterwards, Daniel asks, did it work? Zadaralome looks at Zairiko, who nods confidently. Yes, master. He watches the dragon woman, and she matches his gaze. She then looks down at her chest, opening her dress to reveal a symbol before he can look away. The symbol glows, but it has Daniel's name written in the Imperial Common Language, a magical tattoo or brand of sorts. It's actually a little embarrassing when he thinks about it, but it doesn't matter. It's just to ensure she can't do anything to betray him. Daniel approaches her, and she stares him down, asking, "What would you have me do, master?" For starters, don't call me master, or my lord. In fact, I order you only to address me as Daniel, please.
She flinches a little, but she states, as you wish, Daniel.
Are you certain though?
He's sure. Yes.
He stops immediately in front of her. Now your next order is this: without hesitation, slap me as hard as you can. Her hand flies as she tries to ask, Daniel, a dash her own face twists in horror as she realizes she can't stop it. Just before her hand makes contact with his face, her body is compelled to reduce the force, and her hand comes to rest gently on his cheek. She isn't even able to forcibly push his cheek with her hand. She murmurs, I don't understand.
Daniel smirks.
Looks like I won't be able to have any masochism play from you.
Oh well.
Mamaso, what?
Don't worry about it.
I didn't want you to have time to fake it. It seems you are in fact indentured to me, and you can't harm me even a little.
I don't understand.
That wasn't as hard as I could. Zairiko explains, Master had me prepare a hierarchy of orders within the core of the spell. You can't harm a list of certain names of people, which are ingrained on the spell now. You can't harm Daniel, unless doing so would protect that list of people from immediate harm, and you can't raise your children with wicked intentions, but you can protect them. Any orders after that are superseded by these core commands. Suddenly, Hecate pounces onto Daniel's back, slapping Zadaralome's hand off of his cheek as she clings to him. Daniel is mine though. So, stay away from him now. Daniel pets Hecate's head, which causes her to relax a little. As you can probably guess, Hecate vouched for your relative kindness, which is why I offered you the best deal. Your orders will allow you to defend yourself from anyone but those I deemed in the contract, and you won't be bound to someone who could live forever. The rest will also be indentured to Hecate as well, and to specifically protect Hecate for the rest of her life if she needs protection, as well as not be able to harm anyone at all, with exception of protecting Hecate. They will be less free than you are right now.
What of our children? Will we be?
Hecate will take priority for everyone else. You're the only one who doesn't have to prioritize sacrificing yourself over your children, if and when they come to be. She bows again, surprising Daniel a little. The cobalt blue dragon that was with me, please grant her the same mercies and freedoms you are granting me. She is my junior, but she was always the only other voice of reason and kindness I could rely on. I understand your circumstances for allowing us to continue to live, but she deserves freedom more than I. Daniel looks over his shoulder at Hecate, and the young girl nods, still hanging from his shoulders.
He smiles. Very well. Hecate approves.
I had a decent feeling about her anyways, which is why I only made you and her unconscious. So long as she'll cooperate, she'll get the same contract as you. Zadaralome bows her head respectfully.
Thank you, Daniel. Anything else?
Actually, if I may, why is Zairiko allowed to refer to you as Master, but I am forbidden? I figured you'd be the other way around and rather call me Daniel out of disrespect.
No,
it may be difficult to convince some that I am your subordinate if I refer to you as Daniel, and I may be accused of deception. Your core orders don't include stand there and take it. If anyone is bothering you, you have my permission to leave. Ideally while protecting our allies, but that's not an order for now. Don't abuse my trust is all I ask.
She nods in agreement. Very well.
Then, may I ask that you prove to me this curse, and remove it as soon as possible, Daniel?
If possible.
I'd prefer not to delay. With beginning the incubation. Daniel looks at Zairiko, who answers professionally. Proving the curse is difficult, since it was specifically designed not to be detected by any means. However, proving when it's gone should be decidedly less difficult, since your belly will bulge within a few weeks, and the egg or eggs laid in a couple months. The dragon flinches a little, and Hecate glares at her. Why?
You're certain?
Zairiko gives a simple singular nod.
Indeed.
In adults, it drastically reduces the chances of successful reproduction. In children, it drastically boosts the potency of their natural defenses, particularly venom. I think you know the rest. She nods solemnly, knowing very well the outcome of children and their high mortality rate. Zairiko performs a few more procedures, and another golem enters the room. She accepts what Daniel recognizes as an auto-injector, approaching the dragon woman. She doesn't warn or ask her, simply injecting the contents, causing Zadaralome to flinch. She asks somewhat sternly, "What is that?" "The cure to the curse."
What?
Where is the magic? Was it not a spell? Daniel realizes suddenly that the curse could merely be an infectious disease tailored specifically to dragons. This world, even with as advanced as the Citadel is, doesn't fully understand the microscopic mechanisms of disease and infection. Regardless, Zadaralome stares at Zairiko, who says simply, "There. You're cured." That's it.
Yes.
You had no idea you were cursed. Is it so surprising we would have an antidote? She returns to Daniel's side, saying warmly, "You may be surprised to learn this, being a dragon and all, but Master Daniel defeated you without using magic." Zadaralome stares at the golem caretaker in silence. Her gaze finally peels away to look at Daniel. Trying to change the subject rather abruptly, Daniel states, "I understand your caution, and it's probably in the best interest of everyone to continue to conceal your true name, now that the contract is done. But, I don't feel like calling you something plain like White or Pearl. Do you have any suggestions, Lady Dragon? She stares at him, still stuck on the revelation. Is it true? You defeated us without magic. No. Zyriko helped a lot. Anyways, about that name. Oh. How does Ryuogriar sound? Loosely based on a goddess. Ryuo for short, if you'll allow it. The dragon woman blinks several times, still staring at him. How? Hecate asks innocently, is that another name from your world? Zadaralome flinches. Why dash? Your world. Daniel answers Hecate, but both of them receive an answer, yes. Zyriko puts her hands together happily, oh master. I so desire to continue learning from you. You were sent here by the gods. I guess so. So, how does the name sound? May I call you Ryuogriar or Ryuo from now on? She flinches, fidgeting with her hands as she approaches Daniel. Why yes. I will answer to that name. Thank you, my Daniel. He nods warmly with a smile. So, let's test that cure. Hecate flinches and grips his neck from her perch still hanging from his back. Daniel. What? Zadaralome, now answering to the name Ryuogriar, Ryuo for short, finally smiles as she fully accepts the mysterious human before her for what he is. She murmurs tenderly, yes. When Liana watches as sprayers rain water down on fields thanks to the completion of the most recent pump design, utilizing a massive turbine to power a humongous pump, which sends water to one of the kingdom's newest fields, in the Grand Duchy's captured territory formerly belonging to Bromlund. Though conquest is forbidden under the alliance supervised by the Empire, because of Bromlund's failures, and the immense amount of military and financial support the Stalvoltan Grand Duchy provided specifically, the Empire ceded control of the requested portion of the kingdom to the Grand Duchy. And thanks to the alliance being renewed, the kingdom has access to the gulf that Bromlund relatively dominated. For a fee, of course. When Liana's desperate research and development have made her family immensely wealthy and even more powerful than they were before. Even more Stalvoltan vanguards are being trained, and the population, and thus taxes, has been increased. Ignoring their mysterious secret vein of diamonds, Arameliana is more powerful than ever. The problem is, Daniel is still missing in action. According to rumors that have reached Fort Peony, where Daniel was last officially in the Allied territories, he headed west, deep into the Demon Wildlands. 2 soldiers from Fort Peony have gone to search for him and haven't returned. Arameliana may have gained in the brief civil war, but she didn't hesitate to do so when she thought Daniel could still be reclaimed. Now, he's beyond their reach. All they can do is help his legacy live on and advance on a noble path in hopes that they can preserve the kingdom, or at least the Stalvoltan Grand Duchy, for him to return to. And now, thanks to Daniel's phone, which when Liana has worked tirelessly to decipher, only for herself, for fear of the weapons it could unleash water is being brought to fields formerly plagued by drought. Additionally, even more remote places can receive water, thanks to the first ever proprietary magic devices that produce water nigh continuously for years on end, unlike Gunther's foolish experiment. When Liana's world doesn't have a way to analyze the crystals the way Daniel's did, so there's no way for anyone to reverse engineer her crystals, her diamonds. Additionally, they're being distributed through trusted contacts of Arameliana's, who only know that they are special crystals found in the Stalvoltan Grand Duchy that can be charged with any element. Now more powerful than ever, no one would dare try to invade to figure out where the crystals are coming from, giving the Grand Duchy a monopoly on enhanced magic crystals, as their simple trade name is. When Liana turns to find Arameliana approaching with a couple of guards. They're not in their own home right now, so it's only natural for the Grand Duchess to have her personal guard at all times. However, Mother. Good more. Where is your escort? When Liana sighs. Mother, You are my daughter, and quite possibly, the next Grand Duchess. Would you have all my effort be for naught? I won't be Grand Duchess if Daniel doesn't return, Mother, so it's I am well aware of that, my darling daughter. Arameliana pulls Wenliana into a rare hug, though this one is less affectionate and more possessive. I have a trusted officer collecting volunteers. She's learned not to resist the hug, so Wenliana simply asks from her position of having her cheek mashed into Arameliana's chest, volunteers. Yes. I will be sending a Special Operations Unit West. Unofficially, of course. If I understand correctly, you have created some sort of new vessel, yes? When Liana hesitates. She admits softly, I didn't create it, Mother. The Grand Duchess finally relaxes her hold, looking into her eyes.
Very well.
Have you built it? In progress, mother.
Good.
Begin training the captain of the squad to operate it.
Mother.
I haven't even tested the theory. It will take time to train the operator as well. When the time comes, he can operate the test runs. I see no issue. Wenliana sighs.
Yes, mother. Good.
By the goddess, they'll find Daniel unharmed and be able to bring him back without issue. Wenliana smiles a little, nodding.
I'll do it. Good.
Your fiancé has made us all worry too much. He's not my fiancé, whines Wenliana in futility. Daniel is the first person that she would actually consider marrying, but it's certainly not official yet. She adds in a soft pout, you must really want me to become Grand Duchess, mother. Arameliana cups her right hand to Wenliana's cheek. She replies without a hint of irony or sarcasm, yes. And if there is to be only one man in existence to make that possible, then retrieving him has no price limit. Wenliana blushes.
What if?
What if he doesn't want to? Arameliana sighs. My dearest Wenli, you are a proud woman of the Stalvoltan Grand Duchy. It is your job to convince him. Failing that, coerce him. Failing that, imprison him. So long as you have someone who can give you an heir, you may become the Grand Duchess. I'll overlook how you accomplish it.
Mother.
I could never. I'll convince him to want to stay. Arameliana grins. Now, shift your priorities to the new vessel. The captain will meet with you tomorrow to begin his and his team's training. Train them well, Wenliana. I will do my best, confirms the unsure magic artisan. The only problem is, Wenliana only knows the theory from Daniel's descriptions and his documents hidden on his phone. Even he admitted he didn't know how to fly, he only knew the basic principles for airplanes. But apparently, from a short flight of only 33 seconds, Daniel's world was able to rise to the ability to make flights with hundreds of people across entire continents and even their world's oceans, which are even wider than the gulf separating former Bromland from the Demon Wildlands. They'll have to work safely and quickly to understand what Wenliana has been working on so that the flight team can make it there and back without issues. In terms of how the universe is built, magic is like paint. In some worlds, it was used to design strange phenomena in the world, but then dried, and left as is for the world to grow and evolve. Other worlds never needed any magic and function entirely without, au naturel, so to speak. And in some worlds, the gods decided to experiment by leaving some of the paint in its usable form, allowing denizens of that world to use it and see how it shapes the evolution and growth of that world. In all cases, unique scenarios arise that please the gods and goddesses watching over the worlds. Watching over life and their other creations as they evolve and grow together is the truest joy of the divine. Sometimes they have to intervene, but typically, the worlds rise and fall in a natural progression, and the gods and goddesses get to enjoy the growth of their creations. That said, magic is a power directly drawn from the divine realm, cans of paint left behind when forming the world intentionally, but still possessing the divine blessings within. As such, with enough concentrated magic power, even the gods become vulnerable in such a world where that kind of concentration has congregated. Daniel left no apparent trail. From everything they've gathered, he was traveling alone. And they were already weeks behind. They haven't heard or identified the sound they heard from the mountaintop, and the surroundings are even more dangerous than anywhere else his apparent trail has led. Rukana stands on a bluff overlooking a castle in this world that stands as a seeming defiance of the gods. Daniel can't be found because he has no magic, so his presence is buried under all of the magic of this world, like listening for the heartbeat of a mouse while surrounded by elephants, or even more apt, looking for the footprints of a cat in a world full of lions. He left a very minimal trail to begin with, so even traditional methods of tracking are struggling to find him. And, what little trail they could follow has led into eyesight of the most dangerous thing in this world. A castle that looks large even from miles away. Rukana has been watching over this world for millennia, and to think living beings could build something so truly magnificent. She can't even truly perceive the castle's full existence, thanks to the massive amount of concentrated magic and divine energy ingrained in the castle structure. She can tell that even if she tried to erase this world, the castle would remain. It has accumulated a massive amount of energy. And because it's a threat to her if it has offensive capabilities, or its owners are hostile to the gods, she has to be extremely cautious, especially being present in the world itself as she is. She can feel their presences appear behind her, kneeling as always. My lady goddess. She sighs, turning to face the observers.
No luck. None, My lady goddess.
There are no signs or rumors of a human in the towns and villages surrounding the castle. However, there are rumors that the dragons managed to conquer the castle, as it had stood dormant until very recently.
Rukana runs through options.
It's not impossible that Daniel could still be alive, since no one else would likely be able to detect him via magic. Of course, even normal fauna of this world and some of the flora are dangerous to Daniel. If he figured out some way to defend himself, there's no way he'd be safe around the castle if the dragons are the ones who conquered it. The problem is that he could be anywhere with the starting assumption that he's still alive, a random spot in the forest camping, a disguise he made to look like a denizen of the world, or on a road already far past the castle. Just because the people the observers were able to ask hadn't seen him, that doesn't mean he didn't pass through any of the towns or villages. As she's thinking though, Gabriel offers, "My lady goddess, would it be beneficial to speak to the demon queen of this world? If she understands he's not a threat, maybe concessions can be made."
No.
If she comprehends that he is a summoned being, she'll likely not believe he is no threat and be alerted to his existence. She suddenly looks in a seemingly ambiguous direction towards the forest break where a creek flows down into the deep dale in which the giant castle is tucked. They aren't Daniel, but unlike him, they belong in this world. In direct and surprising contrast, where they don't belong, being a couple of Gatanine women, is this deep in demon territory alone. Sergeant Trya and Lieutenant Gwenesphia have been tracking Daniel through the demon wildlands since leaving Fort Peony. They have to be especially cautious, since there are an untold number of species of monsters and animals in the demon wildlands. They each have their own hunting methods and prey, and some are even cunning enough to be a threat to two Gatanines traveling together. Their sense of smell is better than a human's, and they have a lot more experience in the wilderness than Daniel should, given how he spoke of his experience. And although a little difficult to track at times, they have managed to continue following his bootprints where he stepped in mud, small fireplaces where he made camp, and in general, his scent, which both of them are familiar enough with, thanks to the weapon he made. No one from the east side of the mountains can confirm what happened to Daniel, but the fact that his bootprints are traveling alone since leaving the Datakorian village indicates that, in spite of the hostility they were met with trying to gather information, it is Daniel himself who is on a solo journey deep into the demon wildlands. That means that, not only did he somehow deter the attack from the dragons, but he also defeated the escorting force and drove them back, safely visited two villages hosting two different races of demon kin, and continued on without falling victim to the very monsters and animals the two Gatanine women have to avoid as well. Gwenesphia asks softly, "Trya."
Yeah.
"How do you think he did it?
What?
Survived this long?"
Well, that's two.
"But more specifically, defending the fort."
"I don't even know anymore. 1 minute, he assaults a princess.
Next, he fixes magic devices without having any magic of his own. And now, he seems to have stopped a dragon. I can't wrap my head around any of that coinciding with any other part."
Agreed.
"As for survival, did you notice those bags the demon kin use? I saw everyone in the Datakorians had them. Magic bags of some kind. I'm not sure the extent, but I'm guessing those things hold a lot more than they look."
You think so? Gotta be.
Daniel can live frugally, but he still has to have supplies. He probably snagged at least one of those bags, and kept it full of supplies. How was he able to speak to the villages, do you think? They were somewhat neutral to us until we mentioned we were looking for him.
Trya sighs.
The cynical part of me defaults to him doing something to tick them off. She smiles a little sheepishly at Gwen when the latter frowns at her.
But,
from everything I know now, it's more likely that he helped them for free, and they're protecting him. Gwen smiles, adding tenderly, "Yeah,
that makes sense."
Trya crouches, inspecting a small campsite. Definitely looks like another of his.
And, look there.
She points ahead in the rough direction they've been traveling. From their current position in the forest, they can both easily see a humongous fortress. However, their sharp eyes tell them what is most notable about this fortress. It is no human or normal demon kin construction. It is a mountain unto itself, towering over the world and casting a shadow on many of the villages and lakes of the wide rolling valley in which they rest. Gwen whispers, "The citadel." "The what?"
The citadel.
"My grandfather used to tell us stories about it. He said that there was an ancient fortress in the demon wildlands that used to be a place where all races could gather and share wisdom and merriment."
Really? Mm.
That's what he said. He said the legends spoke of a castle as big as a mountain, and which surpassed all known magic and technology of this world. No siege had ever harmed the castle, and it was ruled by the most powerful of beings in the world. Dragons.
That I don't know.
But for some reason, I don't think so. grandfather would have mentioned them. Ha! Think Daniel is there. Gwen looks at Trya, who looks at her in turn. Daniel doesn't even know the rumors and legends of this world, essentially. Since his path has led this far towards the Citadel, and he doesn't seem to have avoided demon villages, it only depends on what his goal is. If he's just exploring, he might be inclined to go to the castle. But if he's hunting someone, it depends on where he believes they will be. And the location of the Demon Queen has been known for a long time, though the source of the intel has been kept secret. Gwen finally replies, "Let's start with the surrounding villages and see if anyone saw him pass through."
Yes, ma'am.
The two continue as far as they can go, moving fairly quickly. Out in the open, they're a little safer from monsters, but they can't build a fire, lest they attract attention from soldiers. If they're caught and believed to be soldiers, which is likely dash, then it's very possible they'll be executed as spies or taken as prisoners of war, in the best-case scenarios. It's ideal for them to avoid all attention if possible and travel as two explorers. Fortunately, at a distant glance, they share enough similarity to Datacorians to avoid suspicion. It takes several more days for them to approach the Citadel. Its massive size makes it appear deceptively closer than it actually is. And like the artificial mountain that it is, it casts a long shadow from the morning to almost noon. "Hey, Trya," murmurs Gwen as they're approaching a village. What is it, ma'am?" "I just wanted to thank you for coming all this way with me."
Trya sighs.
"I didn't do it for you. And I definitely didn't do it because I want to.
I have to.
I never got to repay. Listen, I'm here for my own reasons, so don't give it too much thought."
Gwen smiles. "You don't have to hide it."
"I'm willing to share with you." "I don't know what you're talking about." Gwen snickers. "We're pretty far from everyone else, Trya. You don't have to deflect with me. Besides, Commander already knows."
Ugh.
"Just drop it for now. We haven't found him yet."
True.
"But I think we're getting closer."
Smell that.
"Yeah. Burned alchemy powder and scorched iron. Strange to smell it all the way out here. Winds coming from the direction of the Citadel. We must be getting close."
Trya sighs.
"Here's hoping he didn't get taken prisoner by the Citadel. I think it's supposed to be out of commission."
Yeah. And this is the Demon Wildlands.
"If it's not functional, it's inhabited by demons or monsters." "That's true." The two look at the castle looming high above them as they're approaching the village they walk to. They focus on what's right in front of them now, cautiously approaching the village. It is inhabited by what appear to be primarily Oni, highly intelligent demonkin with one or two horns, generally, rising from their foreheads and tribal markings resembling tattoos. There are also peaceful goblins, a grouping of goblins that tend to settle down in villages, rather than continuing their more savage tunneling and cave-dwelling ways dash. Thankfully, most mid- and high-ranking demonkin seem to know the Eastern language, which gives the Gatanine women away quickly, but not everyone in the Demon Wildlands is hostile. Like the eastern side of the mountains, there are civilians and innocents here. War is fought by a small population at the behest of an even smaller population. The rest are just collateral or completely uninvolved. Gwen, who has a more welcoming and docile personality, approaches a small stand where an Oni woman is selling grilled meat. Gwen speaks to her politely, "Excuse me, Mississippi. Do you speak the Eastern language?" The Oni woman cocks her head, but she nods in confirmation.
"I do."
"You're a long way from home, aren't you?" "We're travelers. That's what we aspire to do."
"Really?"
"It's dangerous in the demon lands for Easterners like you. If we're not careful, it can be dangerous anywhere we go. But, thank you for the concern. I'd like to ask you a question I've been wondering, but first, can we get 2 skewers and 2 of those smoked cutlets?" The woman gives another affirmative nod, a little surprised, but thankful for the business. She hands over the food, asking, "What question did you want to ask?" Right, thank you." Gwen hands over one of each of the food items to Trya, who bows respectfully and accepts them with a grateful nod. "We had a third companion traveling with us.
A young human man. He's pretty easy to spot.
He's really tall with dark hair and dark brown eyes. He's probably wielding a weird-looking staff." The woman strokes her chin as she thinks.
A human.
That would be even weirder than fellow halflings.
"Halflings?" asks Trya.
The woman looks at her. "Are your people not descended of the Datacorians? The differences are apparent, just as my ancestors can be traced back to the true demons." Trya and Gwen look at each other briefly. Gwen deflects, returning to the subject at hand. That's the first time we've heard something like that. But, if possible, could you tell us about our friend? I assume you haven't seen him.
No.
No humans that I've seen come through. Trya suddenly looks when she spots motion, and Gwenesphia matches her gaze. As soldiers, they need to be attuned to anything that could spring an attack on them, in battle or before a battle even begins. And this time, their two sets of eyes fall upon a young woman who isn't an Oni specifically, but another race of lesser demon, given her long slender tail ending at a heart-shaped point, and her unnaturally beautiful eyes, hair and figure. Trya noticed her suspiciously tense when she overheard about a human this far into demon territory. Then, when both of them looked, she became visibly nervous, whirling around and walking away quickly. Gwen asks the vendor, "Pardon me asking this, but do you happen to know that woman?"
Who? Aoloan? Sure.
She's a traveling cook who likes to visit towns and pick up new recipes, sharing what she's made. Not long ago, she was picked up to be part of one of the Lord Dragon's attack force, and we thought it'd be a long time before we saw her again. Have you encountered her?
No, ma'am.
I was just worried she was frightened of us. Ah well, I wouldn't put too much thought into it. Truth be told, many of us are thankful that the war doesn't escalate. She might have just recognized the Eastern language and thought you were hunting her. Why dash? You're not, are you?
Oh no. Certainly not.
As I said, we're traveling, and if we can, we're searching for our companion. Very much the human man I described. His name's Daniel, so if you see him, please let him know that Gwen and Trya are looking for him. Gwen gestures at herself and Trya to introduce them.
Daniel, you say? Gwen cocks her head. I did.
Do you know the name? The woman looks in the direction Aoloan just walked. She then looks at Gwen again.
No.
I believe I should get back to work. She adds in a lower voice, I don't know what business really brought you here, but as a courtesy for your patronage, I won't call out for help. I ask that you leave the village immediately. We're not after any demons, I swear. I have a bad feeling about talking to you all of a sudden, and Trya slams her hands on the woman's serving table, startling her. She snarls quietly, "What aren't you demons telling us about Daniel?" Every time his name comes up, everyone goes quiet and hostile on us.
Answer me.
Trya, whispers Gwen sharply.
I'll scream.
Then you better scream an answer to my question, because the first enemy in range is going to be you if you make a scene.
Daniel is my lover. Are you happy? That's all I want.
If you're hiding him. The woman is nervous, and Gwen tries to defuse, but the merchant whimpers out as she looks away. Aoloan mentioned a paramour by the name of Daniel as well. Someone she met on her mission. That's all I know.
Please just leave.
Trya whispers, that's it?
Why?
Why is everyone hiding Daniel? I swear I don't know. His name came up, and that's all. She didn't mention he was a human. Gwen finally pulls Trya back, and they look around at the cautious and on-guard villagers.
Trya sucks her teeth. Thank you.
The meat was delicious. She tosses another coin onto the table, more than doubling the woman's profit from the sale. We're leaving. Trya storms off, and Gwen bows quickly, jogging after her, watching around them for signs of attack. They leave the village and find a safe spot to regroup. What were you thinking? I got the answer, didn't I? That demon girl brought his name here. If she spoke positively about Daniel, everyone else would have clammed up eventually too.
But I know.
We're not welcome anymore. No inn or anything for us. But what would bring that Aoloan girl to this village specifically? You think Daniel is here?
Maybe. She might have kidnapped him.
I've heard some of the demons do that. Kidnap men for reasons.
Gwen sighs.
Well, there's no way we can go looking for her now.
Trya smirks. Isn't there? No.
The junior-ranking Gatanine soldier sighs. You have no imagination. Daniel inspects the finished components, modeled by simple drawings he was able to do from memory and built via descriptions of the sizing requirements. Zyriko has many strange magical devices at her disposal that can form materials with ease, not unlike Earth's wire EDMs and multi-tool CNC mills. And she can also use magic summoning circles to simply summon certain ingredients and simple parts using magic from the castle's reserves of magical energy. He begins assembling pieces of the first one, checking fit and alignment carefully. Zyriko teases as she watches from nearby, "You know, Daniel. You've officially doomed this world.
Not yet, I haven't.
People were killing each other with similar things as these for hundreds of years on my world. The world enders came much later. If I may, Master Daniel, I do not yet understand why the tolerances were so strict. Should wear or metallic deformation occur? That's why the alloys are so important. The design controls those aspects as much as possible. With proper oiling, the tolerances ensure as much of the energy as possible is used without being wasted.
You mentioned that.
Is it a significant difference?
Very.
I likely won't need the mithril or cold iron to pierce dragon scale. If the devourer is what we think, and by some miracle, I of all people managed to kill it, then there's going to be a lot of stray magic energy floating around the continent. Let us pray they don't evolve to possess tougher hides than dragons.
Zyriko nods curiously. Her tone softens to amused and warm. I see. And yes, I very much understand.
I'll have to research where this energy is lost, but I understand.
I know.
Feel free to do testing within the guidelines I set for you.
Indeed.
I feel you still don't fully trust me, instructing me not to use living targets.
Daniel smirks.
I'm worried that you're smarter than me, Zyriko. Just covering but in case you decide to interpret my instructions creatively. Master, I will do everything in my power not to displease you. If you wish for me not to experiment on living beings, you need only say so. With a chuckle, Daniel replies warmly, and so I did.
True.
Master, you have a visitor. Daniel pauses as he's pulling the slide back on his brand new fully assembled semi-automatic anti-tank rifle.
A visitor?
For me specifically. They did not ask for you by name. The individual speaking asked to confer with the ruler of the citadel. It seems there are people aware of the revival.
I see.
Is it an option to ignore them?
Of course, Master.
The citadel is impenetrable from the outside. If anyone does find a way, I hope you will kill them so I can study the methods and prevent them in the future.
Daniel chuckles.
No promises, but I'll do my best, of course. Though with this technology and your magic, you're far more powerful than I am. Zyriko approaches him and bows.
Not yet, Master.
I might be able to end the world. If what you say is true, you definitely could. And since I am bound to your orders, my power will always be your power so long as you shall live. And by the gods, spirits, and all the world, may that be forever. With a scoff, Daniel loads the new rifle with the magazine Zyriko already prepared. Allow them into the audience chamber and have them meet with Hecate. For anyone who doesn't know, I'd like Hecate to be the ruler of the citadel.
I see. As you wish, Master.
Speaking of the Lady Hecate, she is awake. She also seems agitated.
She'll be fine.
I think she's still mad about Ryuo.
I was surprised, Master.
You made an interesting choice. I didn't choose between one or another. I accepted a request. There is a slight difference. Perhaps if you also gave.
Don't even say it.
Hecate is too young. I want to refine her magic. This guest, do you see them making trouble?
Uncertain.
They do seem to have some influence in the demon territories, but their exact goal could be anything. Once upon a time, it was customary for the many races of the world to pay tribute to the Feldrox and the Citadel, and in return, we granted them healing and agricultural techniques to keep their villages prospering and stable. I suspect much of that wisdom has been lost these last few centuries.
Noted.
Hecate may accept tribute, but she should make no promises or agreements of any kind on the same day they're offered. Not when it shouldn't be common knowledge that the Citadel is up and running.
Of course, Master.
I shall advise Lady Hecate thusly.
Please excuse me. Oh.
But before I do go, Zyriko waves her hand over the workbench, and a metal case appears. It's about the size of a large travel suitcase.
She explains, a gift from me to you, Master. I hope you enjoy.
She bows and vanishes before he can reply. Of course, Daniel knows that Zyriko can see anything she chooses to see in the Citadel's grounds, including the areas outside of the castle proper, but within the fortress walls surrounding an ancient village. Daniel flips open the tabs keeping the case closed, and he opens the lid. He is surprised at what he finds. It appears to be a suit of armor made of glistening metal that has a multi-hue, similar to titanium, creating a rainbow-like effect. When he runs his hand over the chest plate, the color shifts, following his hand with a gradient extending away from his hand. Zyriko briefly described the metal that Daniel is pretty sure he's looking at, charmalcol. Alone, raw charmalcol ore is rarer and more valuable than any other known substance in this world, and didn't exist on Earth. That said, that doesn't mean she doesn't have over a ton of the metal stored away, and with enough magic, it can be summoned. In this case, she forged armor to fit him, including a right gauntlet that seems to be paired with a sword, a phenomenon that Zairiko described as a magic link. If the two items are separated for a minute or so, they return to each other. Because Charmalcol is conductive for magic energy, a sheath mounted on any part of the armor can allow storage of the weapon with a simple tether tying to a part of the gauntlet. The sword itself is elegant in design. With its current shape, were it made of steel, hammer-forged iron, stainless, or even tamahagane of Japanese katanas, this sword would not survive a clash between standard weapons of its own class. Unsurprisingly, made of Charmalcol as it is, its elegant, double helix-like blade blending a black metal half with a silvery white metal half twisting back and forth across each other with small hollow spots between the peaks of the wave-like shapes should hold just fine, and the sharpened edge made through magic undoubtedly is as sharp or sharper than the most legendary of katanas of Earth. When Daniel lifts the sword, though, he's surprised to see it begin to glow in response to his touch, similarly forming a rainbow gradient that extends away from his hand, and energy seems to be flowing through the blade. It also seems to weigh almost nothing. It feels solid when he touches it to the workbench, but the weight is little more than a sheet of paper. When he drops it, it clangs loudly with rather heavy impacts, which confuses him even more.
Is it magic? Must be. He chuckles.
Zairiko seems to have given him a rather special set of equipment. Not one to overlook such a generous gift, Daniel takes his current outerwear off, folding the Stahlvolten jacket he received from Wenliana, and putting on the special long-sleeve shirt and jacket that came with the armor. He changes into the pants as well, and then begins donning the armor. Each piece seems to magnetize to his new outfit, gripping firmly, but without providing any real resistance to his movements. The armor pieces protect his feet, shins, knees, outer thighs, chest and upper back, forearms, shoulders and collar. There's even a helmet, though he opts not to put it on for now. He sheathes the sword at his hip. It reminds him of a fictional story he read in his life on Earth, but he's not sure. With his armor in place, Daniel wonders rhetorically, I wonder if I can choose the colors. If I had to choose, I'd go with shades of gray, I suppose.
Urban camo? That seems.
Just as he's finishing his thought out loud, the armor changes colors, matching his mental color image for the armor. Surprised, he remarks, oh. How about digital camouflage? As he envisions it, the color shifts on his armor, matching his mental image for digital camouflage, which is an unnatural blend of square shapes of varying gray, black, and faint green and tan coloring forming the splotchy patterns that are designed to break up the wearer's outline efficiently and reliably. Daniel inspects his armor, impressed that it's able to read his mental image. He murmurs, this shouldn't be able to work, should it? Or is it somehow not magic? Given that the armor and sword seem to have their own magic, it could very well be that the armor is imbued with a soul that's able to listen to him, since it wouldn't be much different than Zairiko's form, other than shape and function. Fully geared up, Daniel heads to the audience chamber, sneaking in through the back entrance while Hecate meets with a visitor, and Ryuogri standing by as an advisor along with Zairiko's golem. He puts the helmet on to hide his face and takes a position like a royal knight behind the three women as Hecate speaks with the man standing before her. The man appears to be some race of demonkin, though Daniel has no idea which one specifically. It's a tall being, about Daniel's height, but with a more muscular build and craggy-looking scales and spiky protrusions from his skin. Given that the Yultal, represented by Vergraze, looked distinctly different, he's pretty sure it's not one of the greater demons. Just guessing, Daniel would call the being an Oni, after a Japanese demon, or an orc, a tall and strong being usually compared to pigs, but in this case that wouldn't be a very fitting analogy. Can grant you a great deal of experience and stability in running the territory around the citadel. I can even provide workers to run day-to-day operations. Hecate, sitting in her chair as every bit the bratty princess she could have been in another life, looks at the man speaking with a straight face. She smiles saying, I see. Yes, that could prove to be very helpful, having free labor. There's an awkward atmosphere in the room. Hecate gives him nothing, as it's clear that it isn't exactly the response he was expecting. Daniel asks quietly into his helmet, Zairiko, can you hear me? Her voice softly fills his helmet, likely through magic.
Yes, master.
At that volume, only I can hear you.
Hecate can't. No, master.
I'm actively blocking your voice from leaving the helmet. Daniel realizes that the armor could very much be an extension of Zairiko, which is why she can speak directly to him, as well as control his voice leaving or not leaving the helmet. I haven't heard much, but it sounds like this guy is trying to start out running.
Indeed.
He has been pressuring Hecate to establish a friendly relationship with his territory. His name is Gilomsa, and he was present the day you met with Miss Vergraze.
The Demon Queen? Indeed.
Finally gathering his composure, Gilomsa replies, "Aye. Ahem, yes, well, that wasn't entirely what I had in mind." Hecate, masterfully using words to hide how little interest she has, retorts, "That's what you said, didn't you? You would provide workers. I didn't ask for workers. In fact, I've been insisting that I have nothing to offer you, and you keep insisting on remaining here to make offers. Why, but of course, your ladyship. But there is plenty to offer, and I believe that we could exchange."
I told you.
"I have nothing to offer you." His expression cracks a little, and he resists audibly sucking his teeth, but frustration is apparent for the briefest of moments. He tries to plaster on his diplomatic smile again. "If I'm not mistaken, your father gifted the citadel to you after repairing its functions and vanquishing the feral Feldrock. Surely, your father would understand."
Hecate smiles. You're right.
"I was gifted this wonderful castle by the person I love most in this world. Unless you genuinely believe you can give me the whole world before he could, you have nothing I want. Thus, I have nothing to offer you." Gilomsa looks at Zyriko and Daniel each, sizing them up briefly as he tries to process Hecate's indignant and dismissive attitude. "I am a very powerful leader in these lands." Ryuogriar finally speaks up, "You are one of the Demon Queen's council."
Yes, we are aware.
"I wonder if she is aware of you going behind her back after making a promise to return herself." The perturbed demon looks at Hecate with a glare. "You would allow your servant to speak in such a meeting?" Even Daniel, immune to magic, feels like the room becomes much colder all of a sudden. However, Hecate is the one that replies with a dismissive wave of her hand. "Why wouldn't I? I might not like her because she seduced my fiancé, but she's still more valuable than you. Oh, and you probably know her as Lady White. The dragon." Daniel watches the disgusted demon look at Ryuogriar. He does a double take, turning pale as his expression drains. For effect, the dragon in humanoid form sways her tail, emphasizing her draconic traits. Hecate adds, "Lady Blue is around here somewhere as well." She grumbles under her breath as she glares at Ryuogriar, "Vile temptresses." The dragon simply smiles, ignoring Hecate's impotent hostility. The little Feldrock girl does sit up, remarking suddenly with a strangely excited tone, "Oh. But, I'll ask if Lady Vergraze can make an offer to counter yours. I already have a fiancé, so doing human political marriages disgusts me, so really, all she has to do is not tick me off."
Lady White?
"Do you know of what we might want or need from Lady Vergraze?" Ryuogriar replies politely, "Virtually nothing, Lady Hecate. Though, it would be nice to provide refuge to demon kin being evacuated."
Agreed.
"Perhaps she'd be willing to pay us." She smiles at Gilomsa as he shrinks under the passive reminder that he's here behind Vergraze's back, so merely mentioning his visit could cause problems, which Hecate not only plans to exploit, but to exacerbate. Just to rub salt into the wound, she adds chipperly, "And of course if we are to ally with Lady Vergraze, it certainly won't be while she has allies who would stab her in the back at the first sign of greener fields. But thanks for visiting.
It was fun. Bye-bye.
So long and farewell." Gilomsa is dumbstruck. He glances at Ryuogriar, who simply smiles at him. He then looks at Zyriko and Daniel, who don't move, though Daniel probably cuts a somewhat imposing figure in dark-colored armor with strange patterns on it and a sword glowing faintly with magic energy. Zyriko says only to Daniel, "She's good at this." "I'm just as surprised as you are. She must have seen a lot of meetings like this, even when she was a slave." "You may wish to concede to her, master."
He scoffs.
"I have to complete my mission first. She's mad for no reason." "Not no reason, master."
He sighs. I know. But nothing happened.
Zyriko's voice sighs. "Master, you can be so smart and so foolish in such short spans of time." Daniel rolls his eyes. "Thank you for the armor, by the way. It fits perfectly." "You're welcome. It looks good on you."
Thank you.
"If Gilomsa looks like he'll cause trouble, be ready to stop him. If you're certain we could win a war, you may deal with him as needed."
Yes, master.
"I suspect the threat of 2 dragons being allied with you will keep him in check to the door. From there, it's unclear what he'll do. Do you have soldiers you can send out into the world?"
Of course, master.
Though they will need to return every couple of weeks to recharge.
Stealth.
"I have some spells that can be used. I'll need either Hecate or the dragons to activate them."
Good.
"Have them prepare some soldiers and send them to protect Vergraze. Until I know what we're dealing with, I have a strong feeling she's our best ally in this world in the interest of keeping the world intact.
I suspect you're right.
Master, may I send them with firearms? On one condition, can you make the weapons self-destruct into a completely destroyed state upon loss?
Yes.
I'll also use synthetic dragon's teeth for bullets and ensure the soldiers collect all casings.
Good.
Then, please do. As you wish, my master. Once the visiting demon leaves, Daniel approaches Hecate and pets her head. She grins up at him happily, having briefly forgotten her irritation towards him. Good work, Hecate.
Thank you, Daniel.
Can you believe that guy, though? He thought my father gave me this castle.
He scoffs and smiles.
Given the character you played, that wouldn't be the worst cover story. Maybe, but fiancé is better.
She glares at him.
Sending your mistress was mean. I have no mistresses, Hecate. Ryuo has experience in this realm. We could all learn from her. Ryuogriar bows politely.
You flatter me, Daniel.
I am honored to be of service. Hecate jumps up, standing between Daniel and Ryuogriar.
Stop it.
You're trying to seduce him again. Daniel sighs, scooping Hecate up from behind and carrying her away as he says, Good work, Ryuo. Please check on Lady Blue, if you would. If she has awakened, we can have the conversation with her next. Ryuogriar agrees with a nod.
Yes, Daniel. Thank you.
Hecate struggles, though she's not exercising any real strength. She just wants Daniel to acknowledge her tantrum, but she's also happy to be princess carried by him before she escalates. For now, there's a little more preparatory work for Daniel to make for his real mission. Daniel changes the color of his armor to match his outfit, a deep reddish brown for the top, dark gray pants and black boots, and he carries his new rifle with him, as well as the sword. Zairiko asks as they walk to the prison cell containing the blue dragon, Master, did you attempt to draw the sword? I thought you could see everything in the castle.
I can, but...
Would you for me now? He had no reason to object, so he drew the sword and showed it to her.
Why?
Should I not have been able to? Zairiko suddenly looks ahead. She says nothing as she walks alongside him.
Wait.
You didn't expect me to be able to draw it. She glanced at him, and then looked ahead again. Master, I am happy to have met you.
What is this sword? Is it cursed? No. Of course not, Master.
It's a very special sword. Ryuogriar is waiting outside of the cell as she sees Daniel casually swinging the sword. It feels normal. The white dragon in humanoid form commented in shock, that sword. Isn't that
Nemesis?
She looks at Zairiko, and then back at Daniel who frowns. He glares at Zairiko. Zairiko. The golem says in a deflective tone, Master, we have arrived. Zairiko, answer me. What is this sword? Ryuogriar answers when Zairiko remains silent. That sword is said to be a legendary sword. No one in the world now could wield it, but its original wielder defeated an out-of-control Yule-Tall dictator thousands of years ago. She gingerly touched the sword, recoil when it shocked her. She gasped, and Daniel inspected the sword. Sorry. Are you okay, Ryuo? She nods, nursing her hand. It wasn't bad, but... It truly is Nemesis. Daniel looks at Zairiko, who finally states, I wasn't alive when it was forged, of course, but it has remained a mystery. Many legends linger about the sword, but no one could hold it. No one but you, Master. She adds tenderly, you are this generation's God-chosen hero. Daniel cocks his head. It's a concept from fictional stories of his world, but usually, that requires actually being spoken to by some divine being and told all of this. He finally retorts, I doubt it. You're a scientist, Zairiko. I think you know what I suspect. And, what is that? Asks Zairiko with amusement in her voice. That this sword somehow reacts negatively to magic. Ryuogriar cocks her head in surprise. She, too, looks at Zairiko for answers. The golem replies, I had suspicions that if anyone would get a different reaction from the sword, it would be you, Master. Though, I have yet to figure out the exact mechanism as to why.
Daniel sighs.
I believe you. Why not tell me, though? I was curious, and this was more fun. I also didn't expect you to figure it out so quickly.
Daniel smirks at her. I see. Fair enough.
He then looks at Ryuogriar, sheathing the sword, any indications that Lady Blue will object?
She shakes her head. No.
I am confident she will agree to your terms. She might be afraid of you though. Daniel can't argue that. Try to convince her to stay calm. She doesn't have to trust us, but she needs to stay calm. Ryuogriar agrees confidently. I shall ensure it, Daniel. She looks around asking, will Lady Hecate be joining us? This time, Daniel goes quiet, and Zyriko teases, she's conflicted about being present when Daniel is seduced by her as well.
Ah. Apologies.
Then, I am ready, Daniel. He confirms with a nod, cradling his rifle across his chest. He then nods his head at Zyriko, and Zyriko opens the door. He walks in calmly, followed by Ryuogriar and Zyriko, each of whom stop alongside him. Like Ryuogriar when they met formally, the cobalt blue dragon is in her humongous true form, curled in a defensive position as her eyes stay locked on Daniel. Daniel says gently, "Good evening. My name is Daniel. You probably know me better as the Feldrock Sorcerer, or the Harbinger of Calamity. Please just call me Daniel though." The dragon is startled by the revelation of who he is, but then she sees Ryuogriar. Suddenly, as if spoken to by the blue dragon, Ryuogriar states, "I now go by Ryuogriar, and I am now Daniel's ally. Though, I am forbidden from referring to him with proper deference." She smiles at Daniel, petting her belly briefly. "Daniel is here to make you an offer that I suggest you take. All alternatives are worse, and Daniel is a man of his word. You will speak in the Eastern language in his presence, or I will ignore you." The blue dragon looks at Daniel, and then back at the white dragon, and then back to Daniel again. Ryuogriar adds gently, "Daniel, please give me the following order. I order you to speak your true feelings and beliefs." That makes enough sense for Daniel. "Ryuogriar, I order you to speak your true feelings and beliefs."
She smiles.
"I am serving Daniel of my own free will, Laya Vagstrium. I am under a slave contract, but one that only binds me to Daniel, a normal human. And, he has yet to give me any direct orders utilizing the enslavement. It is more of a contract to guarantee his safety. Yours will be the same as mine thanks to Daniel and Hecate, who you will meet later. I don't like Hecate very much, but she has grown since her days as the slave that brought us to here." The blue dragon shot a look of betrayal at Ryuogriar as she spoke, indicating Laya Vagstrium is her true name as it is pronounced in the Eastern language. Regardless, she heard Ryuogriar out, and she finally speaks softly, her voice still deep and filling the room with ease. "You would speak my true name before these beings, Zadaralom?" Ryuogriar takes the indignant response in stride.
Indeed.
She exposes her chest, revealing the contract brand with Daniel's name on it. "I gave mine willingly when Daniel described the options and offered me what he did. He has been fully true to his word. I spoke of you being trustworthy, and Hecate defended you too. I hope you will hear out what he has to say."
Again, she looks at each of them a few times.
She finally replies quietly, "Very well. I will hear the human's offer." Daniel explains the stakes. She'll be magically contracted to him, but he won't flex his authority over her so long as she doesn't provide any threat to him or his plans. She will forcibly have to protect her children, cannot harm Daniel, Hecate, Zyriko, or anyone else listed on the contract, and cannot raise her children to be hostile to anyone on the contract. Otherwise, she can defend herself and those she is not allowed to harm, and she can do anything else she wants. He then explains the reward, the cure to the curse that none of them can detect but is easy to convince them of its existence, and children as soon as she wants to try. Ryuogriar then explains, after the contract is formed, Daniel will ask you or choose for you if you allow it, a new name that isn't your true name. It has been a long time since I felt so free and relaxed. The choice is yours, my dear sister, but I do encourage you to accept Daniel's offer. After a moment of pondering, Daniel offers, "We can give you time to ponder. You don't have to decide today. Her Majesty Vergraze is returning in a couple days to negotiate, so I'd like an answer before then, but we won't force you. Do you have any questions?" The blue dragon pauses one last moment and she casts a simple spell, the same spell Zadaralom cast during her meeting dash. Within moments, Laya Vagstrium emerges from the light glow of the spell, much smaller than she was, similarly human as Ryuogriar is now. Again, Daniel is left wondering how the humanoid form is chosen, as Laya Vagstrium looks different than Ryuogriar, including more youthful. If Ryuogriar looks like a particularly beautiful 40-something human woman, Laya Vagstrium looks like she's in her mid-20s. Her outfit consists of a fairly beautiful, but extremely modest shroud, tunic, and long dress that hides any significant details of her body shape. When she's standing idle, she looks somewhat like a slender Native American teepee with a human head peeking out of the top, her hair an iridescent blue that shifts shades depending on the angle, and her deep emerald green horns emerge and curl softly at the sides of her head. She has a soft, but somewhat cold expression, like an introvert who does her best to keep to herself. She bows, revealing her metallic blue tail peeking from underneath at the back. Master Daniel, I accept your offer. Please allow me to live as you have described. Daniel nods in agreement. He finally introduces Zyriko. Thank you. In that case, my companion Zyriko will cure you and perform the contract. After that, we'll choose a new name, and you'll be free to leave if you wish. She complies, following Zyriko's instructions as the caretaker performs both procedures the same as she did with Ryuogriar. Afterwards, she states warmly, "There. All done. You're ready to couple up and lay some eggs. Just be warned, Hecate doesn't like you." Daniel replies, "She won't hurt you. She'll just express herself. Now, for the final test. Laya Vagstrium, I order you to, without hesitation, slap me as hard as you can." The blue dragon tries to object, but just as with Ryuogriar, who stands by passively now, Laya Vagstrium's hand flies on its own. Just as with Ryuogriar, her momentum plummets as her hand reaches Daniel's cheek, and it stops on his cheek. She is surprised, quickly apologizing. "I am sorry, Master Human. Your order, I couldn't. Please. Relax. I did the same thing to Ryuogriar. The contract is in place." He smiles, gently taking her hand off of his cheek. She whimpers softly, "WH-. Why would you risk something so dangerous? I could have killed you. And, I imagine it would be pretty quick. I wouldn't have much to worry about after that, She stares at him, and then looks at his hand, still holding hers gently. She retreats under her outfit, breaking eye contact. "If you don't want to live, why did you fight back?" "I don't want to die. I just figure it's a good way to be sure the contract worked. That's how much I trust Zyriko. Now I can trust you too." She blushes, and the subtle movements of her shoulders and her dress suggest that she's fidgeting underneath her body-hiding outfit. Daniel doesn't tease her though. He instead asks, "So, now that we're past all of that, do you have any ideas for a name?" Laya Vagstrium looks at Ryuogriar, and then at Daniel. "Ryuogriar is not a name I've ever heard. Did you choose it, Master?" "I did," confirms Daniel. "You're welcome to choose your own, if you wish. I just don't want to call you Blue. It's too generic and feels impersonal." "Impersonal?" He confirms with a nod. "You're a person. And, I hope we can be friends in spite of our meeting and current circumstances." She breaks eye contact again, nodding subtly. But she asks softly, "You feel that way, even though we were enemies?" "It's all the more important if I want to prove I don't want to be your enemy. I know you just accepted a contract that binds you to me, but can we be friends with the goal of protecting the world, rather than conquering it?" She agrees softly, "Why yes. And I'd like you to choose a name for me as well. I will trust you to choose something fitting." Daniel is surprised a little, but he agrees to do it. "Very well. I guess in keeping with the Val Dash. Well, never mind that. How about Rainleaf? Shortened to Raina for casual conversation." She cocks her head. "Rainleaf." Daniel smiles and nods. "It's a slightly modified name of a sort of goddess from where I come from." "I see. You compare me to a goddess." He smiles. "Why not? You're far more powerful than me." Ryuogriar whispers, "Daniel is a magic summon from another world." This surprises the newly dubbed Rainleaf, and she glances at Ryuogriar briefly, before staring at Daniel. Is that true, Master?" "Yes. And thank you. I almost forgot. Raina, sorry, do you accept your new name?" She nods sheepishly. "Yes. Thank you so much, Master Daniel." He sighs. "You're welcome, and thank you. Now, I order you to refer to me as Daniel. No Master or Lord. Just Daniel." She gasps, glancing at Ryuogriar, who answers with a slightly disappointed nod, and Rainleaf finally understands what she meant. "Why would you do that, Daniel? Why do you want to refer to me so reverently? You're giving us a second chance, likely when we don't deserve it." And, she peeks under her collar briefly at her own chest, her cheeks filling with color again. She clears her throat, adding softly, "I am yours now." "Am I not?" "Not in that sense. You're just a friend. That is just an insurance policy for me." She surprises him when she takes his hand, holding it sincerely in front of her close to her chest. Please revoke your order, Emma.
Ma.
D. Daniel. I would like to express how I feel.
Why?
You don't have to. I would like to.
Please. Daniel sighs. Fine.
Reina, I grant you permission to address me however you please. She smiles, instantly saying, Thank you, my cherished savior. This stuns him, but Ryuogriar quickly crowds closer.
Daniel. Me too, please.
I feel the same way. I didn't think you would accommodate if I asked. He sighs again, a little more exasperated this time.
Fine.
Ryuo, you also have permission to address me however you like. Try not to embarrass me, please. Cherished master.
Oh, come on.
She smiles, taking his other hand. I truly have come to cherish you, Daniel.
I can feel it.
You have given me, personally, a great many gifts in such a short time. I look forward to a long future with you. I am certain Reina will, too. Reina nods sheepishly, adding softly, You're kinder than I thought you would be when you walked in. Daniel extracts himself, clearing his throat. Thank you for the praise. But, I'm no one special. Let's all work together. Zairiko cuts in, ruining Daniel's attempt to escape. Master, before we finish, we should probably discuss Lady Reina's restored ability to procreate. Zairiko. You're a terrorist. Daniel finally finds some alone time in a hidden work area of the citadel that Zairiko prepared at his request. She left him a note to head there after he was able to extract himself from Hecate, Ryuogriar, and Rainleaf. There, Daniel finds a strange collection. There are several goblins and orcs eagerly receiving a reward from Zairiko's golem as a handful of other golems stand nearby. Zairiko notices him enter, and she eagerly greets him.
Master. Welcome.
I was just rewarding my henchmen. Please forgive these unsightly creatures. Daniel nods politely at them, saying a little sternly, Zairiko, I don't find them unsightly. If they're willing and capable of working, they're welcome here.
I see.
Besides, the few female goblins I've met are kinda cute. Don't tell Hecate I said that. Zairiko chuckles, saying warmly, Master, your secret is, probably safe with me. Daniel smirks at her, knowing she's teasing him. Either way, Hecate won't do anything severe, most likely. He asks, So, what did they do to earn a reward? Zairiko gestures at the cart that was wheeled into the room. It's rather large and contains a heavy-looking dark gray metal box. They have graciously worked with tools I provided to obtain what you requested, Master. As you suggested, lead seems to contain its effects.
Ah.
Yes, the mystery material in the mountains, correct? What did you find? Daniel approaches the case, but as he reaches for it, he notices the demon-kin retreat. He asks, What is it? Zairiko asks, and one of the orcs responds. He says many of the workers fell ill, especially if handling it directly.
Ah.
Well, that's not good, but it might confirm one of my suspicions. You think this is the weapon you need?
In its ore form, yes.
I'm hoping so. You may dismiss them if you wish. I'm going to open the chest. She acknowledges with a nod, explaining to the orcs and goblins. They share a glance, but hesitantly remain. She says to Daniel, Seems they are curious if they got the right material. Daniel slides the heavy lead lid open with a pry bar, and he holds a lantern over the opening. Almost immediately, the lantern goes out.
Right.
Negates all magic. Zairiko, could I get a? Her golem form suddenly collapses, even across the room where she is. Zairiko. He quickly seals the case as the goblins and orcs groan and panic a little. He then runs to Zairiko's golem body, but the pieces have fallen apart. Zairiko. Can you hear me?
Wake up.
A moment later, a new golem materializes in the room, and Zairiko's voice states, Apologies, Master. I should have expected this much. Zairiko.
Yes. I told you, did I not?
My soul is not housed in my golem, only a link. I will endure this much with no trouble. He sighs relief, setting her defunct body down. You're sure you're all right?
Yes.
I knew better, but I was curious. Indeed, this appears to have the same power as the mystery material in the mountains. If you wish to observe it, I too will need to leave the room, it seems. That's probably for the best. I don't really want anyone in this world to be capable of seeing me make the weapon itself. You'll understand if I can make it work. She obeys, curious of Daniel's mystery weapon.
As you wish, Master.
I understand your caution. Can you bring me some candles or torches? Anything with a traditional, non-magic flame. If it is what I think it is, I have to be a little careful with it, but it should be safe enough. She agrees with a nod. Another golem appears, this one being one of her servant golems, and it has several of each. Use as many as you need, master. She sets a lit torch on the workbench so he can light the others, as well as the candles. She suddenly asks softly, Master.
Yes?
What is it? Are you sure it's safe for you?
Safe enough.
The radiation emitted by the ore I want is actually blocked by skin and clothes. What effect it is having on magic is probably related, but not directly. She nods her head as she listens.
Very well. Be careful, master.
We shall retreat to the outside. If you do not signal me within 10 minutes, I will have the orcs come and retrieve you.
Thank you.
10 minutes will be enough. She nods in agreement and ushers her golems and the orcs and goblins back out into the hall leading to the secluded lab. Daniel opens the trunk again, using one of the torches to light up the inside. Sure enough, he finds an ore marked with a distinct and crisp yellow coloring, though not shimmering in the same way gold does. It would be easy, especially under torchlight, to mistake this metal for gold or silver, but he's fairly certain. His last test is the extremely simple radiation detecting film he asked Zyriko to make for him, with half of it shielded in lead and the other half exposed. He exposes the film for only a moment using tongs, and then withdraws it. He closes up the trunk and waits a moment for the lights to grow back to normal brightness, indicating the effects of the field have faded. He opens the door, smiling, and Zyriko and the others return to the inside. Daniel carefully extracts the film, showing it to Zyriko. She studies it for a moment, remarking, "The two halves are very different." Daniel confirms with a bit of triumph in his voice.
Yes.
That means it reacted.
Then?
Daniel nods in confirmation. It is radioactive, one of the closest things my world had to magic. I can't confirm what specific element it is for certain, but I'm fairly confident it is the one I want.
I see.
Then, I shall have my henchmen continue to gather as much as possible.
Thank you.
Which leads me to the next question. Zyriko dismisses the orcs and goblins first, and they cheer, confirming vigorously whatever she said. She likely offered them an even bigger reward for gathering more and more. Knowing Zyriko, she likely convinced them to recruit their allies, in spite of the danger. However, now that they know that lead helps, they'll ensure to carefully collect it with lead containers, quickly removing themselves before they get sick. Daniel adds, if it's all right, offer them potations if they get sick or injured by the stones. I want as much as possible, but they need to be careful. She nods in acknowledgement of Daniel's instructions, explaining to the workers. They nod vigorously, laughing and eagerly accepting their mission.
She explains, they accept.
I'll notify you as we collect additional material.
Good.
What was your question, master? She dismisses the goblins and orcs, having them escorted out by the servant golems. You said you can magically summon material, right?
Indeed.
So, if I ask for pure iron, you can summon pure iron?
Of course.
Can you tell me how you specifically summon iron?
She pauses. Ah. Ha.
Well, I can show you the spell and the changes made between materials that you can choose. I suspect you hope to change it to the one you want, yes? Yes, confirms Daniel confidently.
Very well.
Let us head to the manufacturing floor. She teleports them both, which Daniel is thankful works. He and Zyriko suspect that he exists in this world akin to inanimate objects that are devoid of magic. He can't benefit from magic or suffer from curses designed around living beings, but is proven when he can be burned by fire spells or teleported by Zyriko's influence over the citadel, he is not truly immune to magic. In the manufacturing facility, Daniel sees golems operating spell circles, altering and creating repair materials to continue the ongoing repairs to the interior of the massive fortress, as well as the village within the outer wall. Zyriko leads him to a specific circle that is quite large, about the size of the summoning circle Daniel found himself in when he and Rikuto arrived in this world. To his surprise, it's actually projected onto the floor by a crystal device in the ceiling, and Zyriko operates a panel similar to the one at the top floor access panel where he and Hecate claimed control of the citadel. As you can see, by defining certain quantities listed in this reference table, materials can be selected. Daniel asks, "May I?"
Of course, master.
All the citadel is yours to do with as you will.
Right.
But, I like to ask. She approves of his courtesy with a thankful bow of her head, stepping out of his way so he can use the panel to inspect the table. It seems to have been translated into Imperial Common for Daniel's sake, and he states, "Thank you for translating, Zyriko. It is my pleasure to serve you, Master."
Thank you.
From what I see here, these values in this column are the mana consumption, correct?
Correct.
It will adjust accordingly if we place materials to be changed from one material into the chosen material. Some changes use less magic, and some use more. Is the only way for the Citadel to replenish magic through deaths within the walls?
As it stands, yes.
That, or to have magic users make donations of their own magical energy to the Citadel's charging stations, though this is relatively inefficient. In fact, my original masters built the village at the outskirts and asked for magic energy as tribute from the citizens. Since it was an easy payment for everyone to make, everyone was happy to do so. Shall I begin recruiting for the village, Master? Do so at a controlled pace. I don't want to overwhelm production nor attract attention of those fearing us making an army. In fact, it may be wise to bring it up with Vergraze when she returns, as a courtesy.
I see.
You are probably right, Master. Daniel studies the other information in the table. Is there anywhere to see the unique properties of the material?
Yes.
The spell updates as appropriate. She selects iron, and as she indicated, certain glyphs on the magic circle projected onto the creation area change to indicate new glyphs. Daniel asks, those glyphs, what do they mean? They are ancient Feldrock characters for numbers. Re-Iliali? Asks Daniel eagerly.
Yes. He chuckles.
That was amusement, Zyriko. I'm pleased with that answer. Can you transcribe what numbers are depicted in the changed glyphs for me, please? He offers his notebook after writing the word iron out. She nods, writing the numbers in order by each glyph. While Daniel knows it won't be the values from the periodic table he knows, it's information he can work with. He then selects another known material, carbon. He selects diamond first, having Zyriko write the new numbers out. He then chooses coal and does the same again. Unsurprisingly, most of the numbers don't change, but a few do. He remarks as he scrolls materials that are already known by the Citadel, I would love to see the reference table the Feldrocks created for these glyphs.
I'm afraid I don't know, Master. Apologies. Not your fault.
They may have it secretly locked away somewhere. We'll see if we can outsmart this though. I have some idea of your goal, but how do you intend to select an unknown material, Master? In my world, humans had found ways to define elements like iron and carbon as unique and simple building blocks. Charmalcol is likely a compound. He chooses it, and several other glyphs change this time. He nods as his hypothesis comes to fruition. I'm fairly confident that these new numbers indicate how the compound is formed. A compound is formed of multiple elements.
Yes. Like an alloy.
Do you know what goes into Charmalcol if it's forged normally? It is a long list of individual materials, Master. Daniel studies the information as he listens. How about iron? She answers intelligently. Only iron, strengthened if purified. And even stronger if you alloy it with certain other metals. For now though, we'll try to narrow down what these numbers tell us. Daniel cycles through materials that he can identify definitively as elements, including tungsten, copper, calcium, silver, and gold. Zyriko records the numerical values in the positions that change, and they head to the desk to begin comparing. Zyriko expresses as Daniel makes cards of each one to be able to move around and sort. Master, I do have a concern.
What you got?
She cocks her head, but has become quite used to Daniel's casual speaking, which he uses in the new language just as he did most of the time in English. If the treasure of doom negates magic. I have a theory which I hope you will be willing to attempt, but I agree. That could dampen what I hope to accomplish. What is your theory, Master? The magic negation is directly related to the radiation being produced by the material. If you can convert something like iron into the uranium I want, it shouldn't negate the magic of the conversion until the very moment the spell completes, perhaps shortly after.
I see.
Yes, that could be true.
We'll try with a small piece. Look here.
These values seem to be the most unique to each material, and I think I have a suspicion on how. This one is a factor by which the desired amount is generated. 10 pounds of iron is not the same volume as 10 pounds of coal.
Daniel grins, nodding. You don't say.
She stares at him a moment, fairly certain it's just one of his phrases. He adds, let me do some math for my world. The setting for amount was the same for all of these, right?
10 pounds.
She confirms politely, yes, Master. Excellent. Daniel scribbles some notes recalling his wisdom of the periodic table and Avogadro's number, which uses a fixed number of atoms in a calculation with an element's atomic weight to convert it into grams. From there, he can do some math to figure out how many moles of each element is in the 10 pounds of this world's weight system. It takes some time, and he has to make several corrections, but he's able to confirm which of the numbers that came from the spell is the equivalent of the atomic number from Earth's periodic table. It seems to be using the full atomic weight of stable isotopes, and one of the other numbers that has been consistently zero may be a factor to determining isotopes. Daniel does some calculations and adjusts the values, asking Zyriko, "Can you make this value?" She looks at a negative value, replacing one of the zeros. "Yes," confirms the golem caretaker. "There is an equivalent set of digits for negative values. Please set these parameters, and we'll test it." Zyriko begins adjusting input parameters on the control console, keeping the desired weight at 10 pounds. She then explains how to use the panel and activate the spell, and then she retreats so Daniel can activate it. The moment of truth is upon him. Whether or not he'll be able to accomplish the impossible in this world he could never imagine being in. Daniel himself can't use magic, but there is magic equipment he can manage to utilize, specifically as long as he's wearing his gloves. And although he has seen a fair amount of magic spells and equipment since his arrival in this new world, some spells are truly impressive to watch. He placed a small chunk of iron on the source circle, and then activated the alchemy circle, as he chose to refer to it in his mind. It's a magic circle in the Citadel's manufacturing area that can summon any material he wants, as well as magically convert one substance to another. With Zyriko's help, they performed some math and research on the magic circle to attempt to create uranium. Specific, uranium-235. The spell device is generating tons of light as it projects magic on the circle, and mist rolls off of the circle and around Daniel's boots as he watches cautiously. When the light fades, power suddenly drops out around the alchemy circle. Daniel looks around. Again, he forgot that the lights in the Citadel are powered by magic. He sighed, cautiously using his memory and moving slowly to find the edge of the circle. He crawls forward, feeling for his prize. He finds a rounded rectangular ingot, one that weighs this world's 10 pounds, which he's pretty sure is around 7.5 Earth pounds. He had to use what he's pretty sure his own weight was compared to what they claim his weight to be, and he has no way of knowing how accurately it is, since it has been a while since he weighed himself when he was still on Earth, let alone when he had a chance in this world. Regardless, it's probably close enough, and it won't really affect how he moves forward. Daniel carries the ingot, following the residual light from further away stations, finding the exit cautiously. Zyriko prepares the area and his path in hopes that work won't be interrupted. But they both forgot to make sure he had a torch ready. Daniel walks the long walk to find an access to the outside, using the sunlight once he walks out onto one of the castle's side turrets. He recoils against the bright sunlight, realizing that he hasn't been outside much in the last few weeks. He studies the ingot in his hand, smiling at the silvery white metal. He exposes it to another one of the films from his pocket, keeping part of it covered with his fingers as well. Sure enough, the film discolors. When he moves his fingers, it's still untouched. Daniel takes a breath and sighs. "I don't want to make two, but I really should test it, shouldn't I?" Daniel looks out over the turret. He's pretty high up in the Citadel on the floor he's on, and he can see for miles in most directions. Other than isolated incidents, this world is peaceful. It's quiet. Much of nature is untouched and undisturbed. Monsters still roam the world in their natural forms. Earth had people who believed that the Earth was discovered by aliens and the human population descended or otherwise cultivated by those aliens, and Daniel suddenly has a thought about himself as the alien, wiping out this world's equivalent of dinosaurs with the technology he could bring over. True, there are powerful magic entities that could match or exceed anything he could do, so if that were to happen, it could have already. If he wants to stop this devourer, he has to hit it with something not from this world. By the sounds of it, Vergraze has tried everything available to her with magic and attack power, much of which only exacerbated the problem. The devourer does just that, it devours magic and bodies of the slain. Both he and Zyriko are pretty sure it was once a Feldrock, though something caused it to become a world-eating monster slowly consuming this world. If I make only one, and it fails, will I have a second chance? Will it develop some sort of resistance to the blast? Daniel looks at the ingot in his hand, holding it up to frame it against the horizon of the world where the weapon he is pondering making doesn't exist. I need to test it. I don't know how else to verify for certain I know what I'm doing. Theory is one thing. I need to build it. Daniel looks at the Citadel. He reliably believes that Zyriko, the caretaker and apparent soul of the Citadel, already possesses the power to shift the political spectrum of the world and turn the tide of the war any direction she could want. The mere fact that they so easily were able to trap and defeat the dragons, when Daniel himself witnessed them melt stone with ease, suggests how powerful the citadel is. If anyone can keep a secret, he believes it would be Zyriko. But he'll need to ask her if she'll keep it a secret even after he perishes. Or, perhaps mutually assured destruction would be the only time she should flex her possession of the power over the atom.
Daniel sighs.
He murmurs as he looks at the ingot again. This is why I don't want leadership or anything like this. Responsibility over a world. He looks at the horizon again. Maybe I'm being hubristic. It's probably pretty arrogant of me to assume I have that power.
But still.
Daniel's weapon was feared on Earth for good reason. And it could have gone either way when it was first invented. Maybe it won't destroy the world, but it'll definitely shift the balance of power. But of course, he's only considering making one in the first place because of the Devourer. He knows in his heart he wouldn't even humor the notion just to defeat an army in this world. He wouldn't have even considered it if it was his only option to destroy the dragons. He sighs, gripping the ingot tightly. He murmurs softly, I'll do it. If you're listening, please forgive me of my sin. This one I probably won't be able to atone for. Daniel walks back inside. He needs to find a place to put the ingot and prepare properly to make even more. King Regent Rikuto studies the young woman in ceremonial robes before him in the audience chamber. There's a full audience, including the Grand Duchess and her family, King Greydald and his wife and daughters, and many of the other nobles. This young woman is the kingdom's newest dawnseer, a type of magic fortune teller able to supposedly narrow in on visions that supposedly can predict the future with some level of accuracy. The dawnseer, when he and Daniel arrived, passed away under the intense stress her mind, body and soul underwent during one such session, and they found a new mage capable of using the dawnseeing spell. Rikuto isn't particularly keen on risking it. They already lost one to the vision that currently looms over the world. But King Greydald and Princess Herales insisted that they consult another dawnseer before the future becomes the present. The closer it gets, the closer the visions get, and so, as long as it has been, there may be a fair bit more clarity to help identify the threat. Aramaya, who typically takes a greater interest in spiritual and magical rituals and wisdom, sits silently. She is duty-bound to be present and respectful as the second princess, but she hasn't spoken to Herales, Rikuto, or her parents beyond short, curt responses since Daniel was sent away. Rikuto asks the young woman, "Have you been told what happened to the last dawnseer, Belphine?" She nods respectfully, "Yes, Your Majesty. I am aware of the risks. Every use of the dawnseeing spell risks getting lost within the vision and a failure to return to reality. It is my sacred duty to convey the ripples of the world."
He sighs. I don't like it.
I mean no disrespect, but I worry that the nature of this magic is too dubious to risk your talents and your life. Please only take that as the concerns of an otherworlder. Of course, Your Majesty. It is difficult to fully trust when the visions can be unclear. However, my master taught me that taking caution when one smells smoke costs less than never looking for fire. That would be true, if you didn't run the risk of dying in the process. Herales tries to reassure him, "Your Majesty, this is how we've always done it. The dawnseer's visions have saved our kingdom time and again throughout history."
Rikuto sighs.
Are you confident in your ability to survive, Belphine? She confirms professionally. As reliably as can be done, Your Majesty. My predecessor was weary from age, and still strove to protect her duty. I shall endeavor to the same standard of effort, but I won't take my youth for granted. I will be as safe as can be. Rikuto isn't entirely satisfied, but the entire court is hoping for this answer.
He gives his assent with a nod.
The last dawnseer received a vision of a man with dark eyes and dark hair and a woman with horns and a tail. If you can, please find us more details.
She bows her head.
Please allow me to perform the ritual, Your Majesty.
Go ahead.
She takes a seat on the floor, preparing some catalysts from her bag on the floor and staging components of the ritual, which Rikuto saw with her predecessor. Belphine then chants the spell, creating a smoke spontaneously from a bowl of liquid, which she inhales. Rikuto is skeptical, but he notices, as before, the entirety of the nobility watches on pins and needles. The mere fact that Arameliana came for this indicates how much stock this world puts in these prophetic visions. For several moments, Belphine is unconscious in the basic sense, sitting upright, but humming and twitching like she's in a somewhat lucid REM sleep. It takes several minutes, and just as before, she begins seizing. Some of the nobles stand up for a better view, and others murmur with concern. Even Greydald and the Prime Minister whisper nervously. Rikuto looks at Herales, who is pale. He thinks for a moment, asking softly, "Can we wake her?" It's not worth losing her. No. Once the vision starts, she must finish, or she'll never return.
Rikuto sighs.
Some kind of neural shock from drugs or something, most likely. Or PTSD if they forcibly wake her. There is likely a more scientific explanation. She finally gasps and cries out, and it becomes painful to watch. It's going just like the late Dancier's last moments. Finally, Belphine sprawls out, crying as her eyes snap open and she pants frantically. Rikuto rises to his feet, calling out to the growing din, "Be quiet. Everyone stay calm." Belphine's attendant gently helps her sit up, offering her water. It takes a moment before Belphine can make sense of where she is and what was happening. Rikuto asks cautiously, "Lady Dancier, can you tell us what you saw?" Her dazed gaze finally snaps to him and locks on, horrified of whatever she saw. She replies, her voice hoarse from the agonizing screams of the latter end of the vision, "Why, Your Majesty?"
The demons. Take your time.
Take a breath and say it as calmly and clearly as you can. She catches her breath a little longer, gulping down water. Once she's better settled, she takes a deep breath. "Your Majesty, I saw."
I don't know. A father and daughter?
It was strange, though. They were casting a spell. Or making something. I don't understand what they were doing.
But what happened? I don't.
Do your best to describe it. It was blinding, like the sun. It turned everything black.
And they did it twice.
After, they were gathering the demons. Herales asks, "What of the dragons? Were they gathering dragons?"
I'm not sure.
There was a woman, holding an egg. It was too big for a woman of her size, but she only had horns and a tail. The others look at each other. The elder Dancier saw a woman with horns and a tail. But she didn't have an egg. Rikuto focuses on the pair. This father and daughter, can you describe them? Belphine does her best to remember. The man was taller than her. Dark hair and dark eyes. And almost certainly human.
But the girl.
She also had dark hair, but she had protrusions from her head. They didn't move like horns. And her tail was almost as big as she is. Rikuto looks at Herales, and then Tulixasis, neither of whom have any idea. He asks, "A feral kin? Could the protrusions on her head be mistaken for horns?" Belphine nods reluctantly as she thinks back on it. Maybe, but they were very broad.
More like ears.
She was laughing. Rikuto scratches his chin. There are similarities, but much of the vision was different now. Greydald offers, it's very possible that parts of the vision have changed because those events are now past. Arameliana speaks, there is evidence Daniel drove back a dragon at Fort Peony. This causes murmurs through the room, and even Aramaya sits up, suddenly interested. Arameliana continues, I know it's naive to assume Daniel isn't who the vision is depicting, so if we assume he killed the dragon, that could have been what the original visions were saying. When Liana whines, but he's not a destroyer, mother. Nothing any of the visions have described would match Daniel. Aramaya adds, it also hasn't been long enough for him to have a daughter. Has there been any news on his whereabouts? Rikuto replies, none, Your Highness. She looks away from him, nodding shortly. Arameliana adds, my own troops have infiltrated the west and have made contact with a Kirin who cooperated. She recognized the Stahlvoltan sigil. She seems a little proud of that fact, but she also glances at Wenliana briefly. It seems, Daniel is looked upon favorably by some of the demons. She claims he killed the dragon and a drake that attacked Peony, and she was part of that force. Herales asks bluntly, has she been captured? No. My troops are not acting in a military capacity. They are looking for Daniel. She offered this information to allies of Daniel. Rikuto asks, did she say how he did it? Only that he was the most powerful sorcerer she has ever seen. This causes a stir, but Rikuto focuses on the potential that Daniel is the subject of the foreboding vision. Did she say anything about his goals? Did he harbor resentment for us? By all appearances, no. He set out from there to hunt, the Dragon Lord supposedly. Several nobles chuckle and laugh, and Wenliana glares at some of them. Even Herales laughs, but Aramaya smiles sincerely. Rikuto, still trying to take the vision seriously, even though everyone else has lost interest for the moment, Belphine. Can you determine what spell he and his apparent daughter were casting? Anything about it? She shakes her head. Only that it was as bright as the sun, and everything was black afterwards. It was like, it erased my ability to see. Rikudo thinks deeply, and Herales points out, Your Majesty, it's unlikely the vision is depicting Daniel. If he had such magic, he would have had no reason to go along with being sent to Peony. I wish I could see the visions myself. I feel like I'm guessing at the color of a rock in the darkness. He looks at Herales. I already knew he could make weapons. It's surprising to learn that he could kill a dragon with them, but these weapons were highly effective in our world. I knew it. So he was lying. You don't understand, Herales. The rate at which the world would change is too dangerous. I asked him not to make them. He clearly made one to defend himself, and it's the only reason we're not fending off a dragon from burning this castle as we speak, I suspect. Arameliana nods in agreement. Then, you believe the vision is about him? We should have imprisoned him when we had the chance. Rikudo is silent for a moment, but Aramaya suddenly stands up, drawing their attention. She faces Herales, saying in a lecturing tone, Sister, if he has resentment for this kingdom, it is because of how you all treated him. But more importantly, the vision has been incomplete every time. Daniel could be doing something just, and you are merely assuming he is a threat. The evidence is clear. All of the visions have prophesied some great destruction. If Daniel is the man, then he and his companion are a threat to this world. Then, it would be in our best interest to apologize, wouldn't it? Aramaya bows to Rikudo, saying, Your Majesty, I am no longer feeling well enough to be part of this audience. Please grant me leave to retire to my room. Rikudo, knowing she's still bitter and angry about expelling Daniel without telling her, nods as he replies gently, Of course. Go ahead, Princess Aramaya. She bows her head and curtsies, making her way out gracefully as Herales huffs in anger. Rikudo asks to himself, All right, Daniel. What could you make that's worse than a gun? Zairiko ponders what Daniel just laid out for her. He wants her to have his secret weapon, but only as a last resort to protect the world from threats on par with the Devourer. She must keep it secret otherwise, including from all inheritors of the Citadel after he's gone. Master, I appreciate your faith in me, of course, but if I may ask, why the sudden change of heart? He smiles, replying softly, Ultimately, I want to escape the responsibility this secret holds. Whether or not to use it. When I was looking out over the plains this castle oversees, and the beautiful lake, and the untampered mountains on the horizon, I had a moment of doubt. Is it my right to so dangerously change this world? She listens patiently and deliberates on his concern. She finally looks directly at him. She says sincerely, Master. No, Daniel. You are very good at making friendly acquaintances, people who will remember you fondly on occasion before continuing about their day. But you aren't very good at making and keeping friends, comrades that you allow yourself to rely on. It is that very flaw that causes you to offer me a burden instead of asking for my hand, or that of anyone else around you. I know you are willing to give away the glory of success by doing so, but you are trying to throw away your accountability. If this weapon is so terrible, don't make it. Don't even tell me anything more about it. If we can't defeat the Devourer, then let this world die. You owe this world nothing and will likely pass on before the Devourer consumes the whole world. But she looks directly into his eyes. If you want my honest advice, though admittedly just as much a request, speak to Lady Hecate and let her help you choose. Speak to Ryuo and Reina. Consult with Vergraze. And whatever you choose and however you choose to do it, please save our world. She sinks to a kneel, bowing before him. Daniel. Please save our world. Daniel hesitates at the profound show of humility. Zairiko told him early on that she chose to become bound to the Citadel so that she could live on into the future alongside the masters that she loved. Zairiko. She doesn't look up. Zairiko, I intend to ask everyone I trust, so please help me. I believe I can stop the Devourer, but I'm afraid of what comes after. The weapon I intend to use, it must remain only in the hands of the truly morally incorruptible, or behind an incorruptible system. My world managed, but it felt like we teetered on the edge. I can save the world now, but please tell me what you would like to do about the future. Zairiko is looking up at him. He adds, I will do it. To take down something so big, it's the only thing that I believe will work. But we need a plan for after I'm done and after I'm gone. She nods, saying tenderly, Master, I would be happy to assist. I can archive the wisdom, but I believe it will be beneficial to have a group advise on circumstances when I would be allowed to divulge the technology and to whom, particularly because I cannot directly assemble it. Daniel agrees. We'll move ahead as planned then, and begin assembling the 2 bombs. 2, Master. Yes. I'm fairly confident we successfully produced the element I need, but we need to make a test unit. Failure isn't an option. I don't want to risk the devourer developing resistance. I see, replies Zyriko. Then, we'll also need a testing location, won't we? Definitely. Somewhere barren and unusable for anything else if possible. And, with winds blowing away from civilization. The plains would not suffice?
God no.
The size of the weapon I want to build will have a destructive radius of over 100 miles. Zyriko stares at him silently for a long time. She finally murmurs, I finally understand why you're afraid. Daniel nods grimly. I have some ideas to reduce the amount of uranium we need, but we'll need the largest, clearest area we can get that will never be needed again. If we're lucky, it actually will recover, but I don't want to take chances. The caretaker acknowledges and requests further instructions. Inform me, and I shall endeavor to make anything you need.
Will do.
But first, let's go talk to the other three. We'll get their input.
Of course, Master.
I shall take you to Hecate. The two are teleported through the castle, and they find Hecate in the archives, reading spellbooks. She jumps up with a start, squeaking, D. Daniel? I was just, she tries to hide the book, but Daniel smiles. He says warmly, Hecate, I'm glad you're studying. She blushes, murmuring, I just want to be as helpful as Zyriko. She shoots the golem a light glare, but Zyriko simply nods politely. Daniel approaches and pets Hecate's head, which earns him a happy hug.
She pouts and,
I was tired of seeing your mistress with her stupid belly.
Daniel sighs.
Hecate, I have something I need to talk to all of you about. Would you mind if we all gather in the control tower where we met Zyriko? She glares at him, and he remarks, it has to do with defeating the devourer. Her expression shifts.
Oh.
Why didn't you say so? I was getting to it. He pinches her cheeks playfully, teasing, but you kept glaring at me for no reason.
Wah.
Not no reason. I'm supposed to be your wife. So why are you so nice to other women? I'm nice to everyone I can be. Now, are you ready, or did you want to finish what you were reading? Hecate latches onto his arm, saying proudly, I'm always ready for you, Daniel. I'll start over anyways. It wasn't making much sense. Unfortunately, I can't help you with magic, but I'm glad you're broadening your knowledge. She grins, cackling boisterously.
Of course.
If I master magic, you won't even want anyone else. He pets her head again, yes. Zyriko, can you take us to the control room and ask the other two to meet us there? Please teleport them if they're willing. She bows, of course, master.
Wait.
Cries out Hecate. I wanna try.
Try what?
I want to try the teleportation spell. Daniel looks at Zyriko, who studies Hecate for a moment.
She nods in response.
Lady Hecate, please allow me to interrupt your spell with disruption, should I detect an imminent failure.
I won't fail.
But, she glances sheepishly at Daniel. Since I know you only want to protect us, I'll allow it. Zyriko nods her head in agreement. Hecate begins casting the spell, which requires an incantation for her, but the glyphs appear around her and Daniel, and in a flash they appear in the control room, though rather far from where the table and chairs are. Still, Daniel pets her head cheerfully, saying, Great job, Hecate. I'm proud of you.
She grins, hugging him.
As my reward, carry me. She climbs onto his back, and he laughs.
Very well.
You deserve it. She laughs triumphantly, Of course I do. It's the strict privilege of your wife. If you say so. He walks to the table as Hecate hugs him from behind, swishing her tail back and forth eagerly as she enjoys the piggyback ride. Daniel sits down, and Hecate unhesitatingly climbs onto his lap, sitting eagerly with him until the other three arrive. Ryuogriar approaches the table with a regal gait, cradling her distended belly with a happy and somewhat smug smile. Hecate growls quietly, but she keeps her thoughts to herself. Daniel suspects that, because it's an egg, the internals and shell formed quickly, and it'll have a longer gestation period once it's laid. Rainleaf, still wearing her form-hiding clothing, is more introverted, and she all but sneaks to her chair to sit down, avoiding Hecate's icy glare, which follows Ryuogriar mostly. Reyna shoots Daniel a sheepish smile as she takes her seat, keeping it brief lest she earn Hecate's impotent wrath. Ryuogriar greets them, Good morning, my cherished Master Daniel. She adds a little smugly, Lady Hecate. Hecate points, You should be more grateful that I let you come to this meeting, Ryuogriar. Daniel and I were going to OW. She clutches her head when Daniel lightly bops her with his knuckle. What'd I do?
Be nice, Hecate. You're cuter when you're nice.
She blushes, huffing as she faces forward and crosses her arms. Gee, good morning, Ryuo.
Good morning, Reina.
Reina nods softly in greeting, murmuring, good morning.
Daniel sighs.
The gravity of what he's about to talk about will likely be diminished by the little Feldrock girl sitting on his lap, but they'll all hear him out. To begin with, ladies, I already spoke to Zyriko, and she recommended I include you in this knowledge, since it has the potential to affect the whole world. Their smiles shift to seriousness, and Hecate looks up over her shoulder to see his face.
He nods gently.
In order to defeat the Devourer, I intend to make a weapon for my world. A weapon that is to my staff what my staff is to weapons in this world. They stare at him silently, and he clarifies, that is to say, I cannot adequately describe this weapon's power without it being difficult to believe. Especially when it will be compared against what you all know as my staff. The two dragon women glance at each other, and Hecate shifts on his lap to sit sideways so she can look up into his eyes. Daniel looks down at her, smiling gently. This weapon could likely level the citadel in an instant. That's the kind of power I'm speaking of. Zyriko scoffs, retorting with her pride in her voice, I would like to accept that challenge, Master, but I suspect you might be right. This helps it sink in for the other three, and they finally look at Daniel again. He explains, I'll make the hard choice for the Devourer, since it's the only way I can think of, since Vergraze seems to have tried everything this world has at its disposal, and it's too big for my staff. What I want to know is if you'd be willing to help me decide how to handle the knowledge of this weapon afterwards. If anyone else manages to make one, the only way to deter it is to have the capability as well. At least, that's the way my world handled it.
It's not great.
But it can't be wielded by someone reckless or apathetic to the lives of common folk. For instance, the Dragon Lord. The two dragons shift their gazes away, but they both nod. Ryuogriar asks softly, the reason you're telling us, Master?
He smiles.
Because I trust you well enough to make decisions for the future. Zyriko rightfully reminded me that I need to consider the children and grandchildren of the future, the lives that would be extinguished by the Devourer or never get to live because of it. The lives that would have to live under threat of these weapons long after the Devourer is dead, or in complete blissful ignorance of them ever existing. Hecate asks softly, Is it really that terrible, Daniel? Ryuogriar offers gently, it will have to be Hecate. If it is to defeat the Devourer. We dragons, all of us tried our flames and most powerful spells together. No magic can harm the Devourer, and nothing drives it back. Only physical attacks can cause it to bleed, and the more powerful the magic of the attacker, the more aggressively the Devourer retaliates. We lost 4 dragons in the last attempt. Reina adds softly, our former lord hoped to find a place the Devourer couldn't reach. Daniel can envision that. He continues with what he knows. Vergraze confirmed that the invasion eastward was her trying to hold back, but needing to evacuate Demonkin and the other western races away from the Devourer, and she's tried only to conquer the land she needs. Ryuogriar and Rainleaf both nod in agreement. You are correct, Master. Daniel makes the direct request. If any of you have objection to me making this weapon, now is the time to express it. The three look at each other, and then at Zyriko. Zyriko remarks, I have already expressed my will to Master Daniel. Ryuogriar remarks gently, touching the bulge of her abdomen tenderly. Master. I agree. The future for not only ourselves, but our children and grandchildren, and their children after them. I want to protect that future. I always have. It was unfair that we couldn't. That all of the other races had so little issue having children. Reina nods in agreement. Ryuogriar continues, I made unfavorable choices when it was only us dragons. I will continue to serve your will, Daniel, as yours is one benefiting everyone, not just one race. Daniel nods, and he looks at Reina. She agrees to the plan. I agree. If you believe you can defeat the Devourer, I would ask you to please do so. If I can help, please tell me how. The others nod as well. Daniel nods in agreement, looking lastly at Hecate. She climbs up onto the table, saying proudly as she puts her hands on her hips. Ha 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 ha. It should be obvious, Daniel. I am your wife, and this is our world. We shall protect it from all monsters from now until forever. Mwahahahaha. Let the Devourer rue the day it awakened. Bring forth enemies to try to steal your technology. We'll destroy them together and preserve peace and prosperity for all. Ryuogriar and Rainleaf both smile, and Zairiko claps her hands.
Daniel smiles. Very well. Then, we're all in agreement.
We'll discuss the rest further. For now, Zairiko, if I could. I'll send for my henchmen to return. Actually, if you have others, I would prefer they continue digging for the raw ore.
Really?
He confirms with a nod. It'll cost less to convert it to the isotope I want, right?
Ah. True. Very well.
As it does come in, please have them make it into raw ingots like the one we made earlier. After, I'll determine what the pieces need to look like as I refine the design I'll go with. Which do we have more of? Charmalcol or Mithril? Daniel walks calmly as Hecate hangs from his shoulders, shaking in frustration as she tries to convince him to turn back.
Daniel. You can't. This is treachery. Cheating.
I won't let you go. Vergraze is returning tomorrow, Hecate. I promised to revive the dragons for her, so long as they would agree to be contracted to our will.
Gra. You like her too. You meanie.
You have me. If Vergraze was a man, would you be acting like this? Would you? She chews on his shirt's collar, tugging with her jaws to try to annoy him without hurting him. Daniel sighed, Hecate, it's business. You're letting your imagination run wild.
Liar.
You're making an entire harem. And you won't even let me be part of it. I'm keeping the peace, Hecate, not a harem. They find Zairiko, Ryuogriar, and Rainleaf waiting on them outside of the next candidate's cell, the young female orange dragon. The goal is to free dragons in order of agreeableness, in addition to which ones were only wounded, rather than slain. At present, Zairiko only has 3 of the revival potions and has golems searching for the ingredients for more. The caretaker muses playfully, I see Lady Hecate slept well. The young Feldrock girl points at Zairiko, commanding her, Zairiko. I order you to stop Daniel. He's not allowed to talk to any more girls.
Ever.
Not even you. Zairiko stared at her, replying dryly, My Lady Hecate, my highest loyalty is to Master. I cannot obey that order.
Graha. Then
send all of the girl dragons out.
Quickly.
Daniel scratches her head, ruffling her hair and ears.
Hecate. Please, relax.
You yourself chose Ryuogriar and Rainleaf because they were kind. The rest of the dragons will likely leave with the Demon Queen.
All right.
She points over his shoulders at the 2 mature dragons in human form. Make them leave too. They're evil temptresses. I thought you were past this. Hecate grunts indignantly, squirming on Daniel's back.
She bites his shoulder, and he yelps, Ow. Hecate. Come on. She pouts, putting her chin on his shoulder.
I'm supposed to be your wife. You have me for anything and everything you want. Hecate, I promise I'm never going to abandon you, alright? Please just let me conduct business. Once the Devourer is dead, we can all settle down and go about our lives in peace. You and I will be stuck together for a long time after that, right?
She hums,
Then, what are you worried about right now? Evil temptresses.
He sighs.
He murmurs, just behave yourself, please. We still have a lot of dragons prisoner, and I imagine not all of them will agree, which means we'll have to try to keep Vergraze happy by offering her at least a few.
She nods, keeping her chin on his shoulder.
I'm not letting go.
Fine.
Just don't make any outbursts. That's all I ask.
Don't flirt with her.
He ignores Hecate, nodding at Zairiko, and she opens the door. The 5 of them enter the chamber of the young orange dragon, who, like the others, tries to indignantly ignore their presence, until she notices Ryuogriar and Rainleaf, instantly recognizing them as their true selves in human form. Daniel says politely, Good morning, Lady Orange. I'm Daniel, this is Hecate, that's Zairiko, and the 2 you know are now going by Ryuogriar and Rainleaf, in order to keep their true names secret from anyone else. You probably also know me as the Feldrock Sorcerer or the Harbinger of Calamity. The orange dragon twitches, but she tries not to acknowledge Daniel. It's most likely that she's trying to speak telepathically to Ryuogriar and Rainleaf. The 2 simply look at each other, and Ryuogriar states elegantly and proudly, I will not answer you, child. Daniel spoke to you. You are entirely at his mercy, mercy being the key word. Hear him out or rot in this cell. Rainleaf adds softly, it's worth it.
We promise.
Orange snarls, why should I trust you? You filthy humans are wretched beasts favoring yourselves kings. You are nothing more than insects. Daniel can feel Hecate's hands tighten on his shirt, and the other three shift to move or speak out. Daniel retorts quickly and bluntly, I'm the specific insect that defeated you mere seconds after you attacked me. What does that make you? Orange recoils in shock and disgust. She looks away haughtily, while the others look at Daniel. He didn't take her insult that personally. Instead, he redirected it. I'm prepared to offer you about 95% freedom starting today. The 5% will be a contract that enslaves you to my will with certain requirements, an inability to harm myself or anyone else in this room, as well as a few others, and a few other things. However, I intend to let you leave if you wish. She growls in retort, I am to believe this farce? Ryuogriar snarls, mind your tongue, child. Reina and I are here of our own free will. You won't be alone as long as others agree. You will only be unable to cause harm, as our former lord did. You traitors would side with this filthy human. Ryuogriar puts her hand on her rounded belly, emphasizing its new shape, and Orange studies it for a moment. Her eyes widen, and she shakes her head in disbelief.
You? How? I thought.
Rainleaf answers, there is a curse on the dragons the Lord spread when he betrayed the citadel all those centuries ago. We have been inoculated. She lifts her form-hiding outfit enough to reveal her own bare belly, which has started to show a curve. Daniel can feel Hecate squeeze him with her arms and legs, but she resists attacking him. She doesn't understand, but he doesn't need her to get any strange ideas either. Orange paces in a short circle, mainly to turn around and look from a different angle, still trying to piece it all together. She shakes her head, pacing in another circle. Daniel states, we'll cure the curse if you agree to terms, and I'll ensure all but the Dragon Lord will be revived, unless they refuse to agree to the terms and try to remain hostile. Once the contract is in place, you may return to your home at any time. You'll never have to see me again. We'll be going together. She looks at Ryuogriar and Rainleaf. Both of them shake their heads. Ryuogriar remarks, I shall remain with Daniel. He has offered me an important role in the citadel, and I have come to appreciate his behavior. Reina nods in agreement.
But he's a human.
Take this how you like, child. Daniel spared us. Insulting him will get you nowhere. Leaving him is your prerogative, but following him,
we will defeat the Devourer.
You can be a part of it, or you can revel in our victory. Orange scoffs, shaking her head. You're delusional. The Devourer can't be defeated. Especially not by this human. Then, you can enjoy your remaining years free, rather than awaiting the Devourer in this castle's dungeon, Orange flinches under Ryuogriar's smug and condescending retort. Lady White. I go by Ryuogriar now. You will refer to me as Lady Ryuogriar or Mrs. Daniel. Hecate growls angrily from Daniel's shoulders, and Ryuogriar smirks smugly at her. Thankfully, Hecate redirects her frustration, hopping off of Daniel's shoulders and approaching the barrier separating them from Orange. She points, saying sternly, I want you out of my castle. So just make the deal and go away. If you stay, Daniel might be seduced by you, and I won't have it. So, just accept. Orange hesitates, glancing between each of them for moments. She asks softly, do I have to take human form? Is this Daniel's command? Daniel shakes his head, no, you don't have to. It is easier to interact with Daniel. Should the time come, it will be necessary to make love to him. Hecate whirls, and Daniel groans. Why must you antagonize each other? Rainleaf ignores them as they stare each other down in a fiery, surprisingly quiet confrontation. She states to Orange, you will need to tell all of us here your true name for the contract. After, Daniel will ask you to accept a new name, one of your own choosing or one of his. Orange hesitates a little longer, but she finally sighs. She casts the spell that Daniel has seen twice already, and Zyriko whispers to him, Master, you're good at this. Quiet. Hecate might hear you. Hecate instantly snaps at him, I knew it. You really are Dash. They look at Orange when she emerges from her spell. She is the youngest of the dragons, and thus the most easily influenced, according to Ryuogriar and Rainleaf, which was why they were optimistic that she would be worthy of the kinder version of Daniel's contract, which they were afforded. Daniel reluctantly agreed, since they were perfect examples of modest and kind individuals, and the contract still protects those he cares about. As such, she appears to be a teenager, older than Hecate as a human, but not by much. Her visage is every bit the feisty and fiery redhead one would picture, beautiful, spicy and hot to the touch, so to speak. She is wearing a dress made of layers similar to Ryuogriar's elegant dress. Again, Daniel has to wonder how their appearance is determined when the dragons transform. It could be that they are familiar with human cultures more than they let on, or it could be that some strange automatic process is. Daniel looks at Zyriko, and she looks at him. Master. I'll ask you later. She remains quiet, and he studies the orange dragon's appearance once more. She states somewhat coldly, but avoiding eye contact, "Stop staring at me with your gross eyes, human." Daniel knows there are landmines scattered all around this room now, metaphorically speaking. He avoids them skillfully by completely letting it all pass by. As I said, I'm Daniel. If you accept my terms, you'll go free. She agrees with a somewhat indignant nod, retorting sassily, "I'll let you have this one, human, but I won't forgive you." That's fine. He nods at Zyriko, and she steps forward, presenting her auto-injector. First, I'll remove the curse from you. Orange allows herself to be inoculated, briefly glaring at Daniel occasionally. Hecate, standing in front of Daniel now, asks grimly, "She's very pretty, isn't she, Daniel?" He looks down at her, not responding. I said, "She's very pretty, isn't she, Daniel?" He smirks. "Don't play this game, Hecate. I'll go scorched earth on you." She points up at him, accusing, "I knew it. You think she's prettier than me. No one's prettier than you, Hecate. You better mean that." Sure. Now may I?" She crosses her arms, huffing. "No. You're not allowed to keep her here. She definitely has to leave now." "Right. Now then, Lady Orange, may I know your name?" She hesitates, glancing at the others. Ryuogriar and Rainleaf both nod. Orange sighs. "My true name in this language is Bisturican." Zyriko instantly sets into setting up the contract, and she takes what she needs from each of Daniel and Bisturican. Once set, the orange dragon looks away. "Are you happy? I'm your slave now. I have no orders to give you. Now, as with the others, would you like to choose a friendly name for us, or would you allow me to?" She doesn't look at him, but she does glance at Ryuogriar and Rainleaf. She deliberates for a moment. She mumbles something, but Daniel didn't hear. However, Hecate grunts, implying that she wants Daniel to do it, like the other two. Daniel smiles, "Very well, if that's what you want." He ponders it for a moment. As it stands, he loosely modified names of Valkyries for Ryuogriar and Rainleaf. How does Gyrahole sound? Shortened to Gyra in casual conversation while you're here. She finally glances at him, and then at the other two. She asks softly, "WH-. What does it mean?" "All three of your names come from goddesses of battle from he sighs. "From my world." This causes the other three to smile, and the newly dubbed Gyrahole to be newly stunned. But it quickly resolves when she realizes that he's the very same person that is able to fight dragons. Gyrahole asks, "Goddesses of battle?" "Yes," confirms Daniel. "More technically, choosers of the slain who would escort the souls of fallen warriors to the divine realm of heroes. They are said to be beautiful, valiant, and divine." The orange dragon blushes and looks away. I'll allow it." "Glad to hear it. Now, I have just one order for you." She glares at him, but he doesn't give her time to prepare. "Your order, Gyrahole, is to without hesitation slap me as hard as you can." Hecate whines, and Gyrahole starts to ask, but as with the other two, her hand flies without warning, stopping on his cheek. Hecate grabs his arm, shaking him. "Daniel. You just like doing that. Cheater. Womanizer." Daniel smiles at Gyrahole's shocked face, more because he ordered her to slap him as hard as she could, but also a more innocent surprise that her hand also stopped on its own. "Good. The contract is in effect. From here on out, you're free to do what you want with the obvious exceptions. Ryuo and Reina can show you around, and Zyriko can see you to the exit when you're ready to leave." Gyra looks away from him, asking with slight attitude, "See, can I have a real meal for a change? It's only fair." Ryuogriar warns, "Gyra." Daniel replies chipperly without any apparent concern. "Of course. We had lunch a little while ago. Zyriko, would you please have your golems prepare a meal for Gyra?" Zyriko bows. "Of course, master." Ryuogriar steps closer to him, murmuring softly, "Daniel. If you allow such insolent speaking." Daniel replies calmly, "She's not a slave. She can say whatever she wants." He looks at Gyra as she glances at him. He smirks, teasing, "Don't be surprised if I respond in kind, though." She huffs, retorting, "As if you could say anything that would upset me."
Daniel grins.
Is that a challenge? One you'll fail.
Tsundere.
All of the others look at him, and he whispers, "You're hiding your love with sass." Gyra's face fills with color as she stares at him in horror. She scrambles behind Rainleaf, hiding behind her relatively large outfit that obscures her.
Reina.
Make him leave. He's lying.
Don't let him lie.
Make him go away. The others are surprised, and Daniel states, "As it turns out, Zyriko and I have to go interview the next candidate. Ryuo, Reina, please show Gyra to the dining hall and feel free to enjoy a meal with her if you want. Zyriko, thank you for taking care of it." "My pleasure, master." Hecate jogs into step, saying with a laugh, "Ha! Daniel really is the strongest sorcerer in the world. Silly dragon." She sticks her tongue out, staying with Daniel and Zyriko as they head to the next cell. Of the 13 greater dragons that Daniel killed or imprisoned and the 21 lesser dragons that were defeated in the Citadel, 3 of the greater dragons and 5 of the lesser dragons were still alive. Defined mostly by their magical affinities, lesser dragons are mainly dragons in appearance only. Because their numbers were so low, the dragons still treated the lesser dragons as true dragons, but they were definitely not the same in regards to the hierarchy. All of the lesser dragons that could accept Daniel's contract, and 2 more of the 3 female greater dragons that weren't Reina, Ryuo, or Gyra accept the contract. Afterwards, Daniel and Zyriko lay out the manufacturing plan for the equipment he needs. He also feeds her some more complex material formulas from Earth in order to make plastic, specifically, polystyrene if she can dash, because it's an important component of modern nuclear weapons. Obviously, it's nowhere near as important as the uranium components he'll need, and he's working on doing some tests to try to determine whether or not mithril will be useful as a sort of energy concentrator. Something that all nuclear weapons, from the first atom bomb tested in Alamogordo to the modern hydrogen bombs, have in common are the fact that they need something to try to keep the fissionable materials crammed together as long as possible during the initiation phase, which lasts fractions of a second dash. And because Daniel is trying to ensure he is going to succeed in the first place, and the Citadel has abundant magic resources thanks to the many hundreds of years of slaying other living things the feral Feldrock did, he's sparing no expense. He'll have Zyriko and her chosen workers collect several hundred pounds of uranium-235, as well as plutonium-239, now that he has pretty well ironed out how the summoning circle recognizes elements. He would kill to have his cell phone again, but there's no way he can involve Wenliana and her family, or any part of the kingdom or empire for that matter, in what he's going to do. Both they and the Demon Covenant are exactly who he needs to prevent from having his terrible, ideally one-time use technology. Additionally, he'll be having Zyriko produce deuterium and tritium in large quantities as well in associated compounds towards the end of construction. Regarding the shell, for which he chooses mithril, he ultimately decides against charmalcol because Zyriko insists that the metal is truly indestructible once forged. Compared to a professionally made weapon, Daniel is simply exploiting what he knows about fission and fusion from his days in the nuclear power industry and what little he gleaned about weapons in casual reading and occasional research for storytelling. It will be sloppy in design, but because he has the advantage of magic of this world, he's not as worried about failure, and can still gain closer to maximum efficiency if he can keep the fissionables and fusionables interacting for even that fraction of a second longer. He doesn't really want to test if charmalcol truly is indestructible, as he wouldn't know what to do with it if it was unable to release the energy of the blast, nor what happens afterwards. He doubts it could withstand the blast, but he's more comfortable with mithril's toughness, which can supposedly withstand dragon's fire only for a little while. What he wouldn't give for stress tests on the metals that exist in this world. It would let him better plan how to design his bomb. But for now, he'll have to make do with his already greatly fortunate turn of events. Without the Citadel, he likely wouldn't be able to do anything about the Devourer. And for now, all he can do is wait on Zyriko to make the components, assembling what he can when he can. Tria lingers in the amplified darkness of a shadow of several dark-colored shrubs near the path she and Gwenesphia have worked out for their target. The demon woman has lingered near the town for a fair amount of time, and though the villagers that witnessed Tria and Gwen threatening the merchant have warned her, she travels with her guard rather low. And now, as she's heading to the home she has been staying in, she carries a small bundle containing her shopping ingredients for the evening. She sticks to the lanterns lighting the way, though the demon wildlands don't seem to have any magic equipment using magic crystals the way the Imperial Ally territories do. These lanterns glow a soft purple-blue color using magical glyphs, and they only stay lit up for the 2 hours after sunset and 1 hour before sunrise. Tria, of course, can see well in either case. She waits until Aeloan is close, and she swoops out of her cover, pinning a dagger to Aeloan's neck, causing the demon woman to halt. "I don't intend to hurt you, so don't panic. I just have a question for you." Aeloan does indeed remain calm, remarking softly, I figured you two were still lingering around. Is your companion nearby? None of your business.
Daniel.
Where is he?
Who?
Trya tenses the dagger more against Aeloan's neck, not yet drawing blood, but reinforcing her position. I'm an ally of his from Fort Peony. He left me behind to protect me, and I'm trying to catch up to him. Aeloan is silent for a long time as she ponders what she wants to say. Trya relaxes a little, saying softly, I just want to know where he is.
I owe him my life.
Aeloan calmly and carefully turns to face Trya, who keeps her dagger in front of her, but is less aggressive. With a moment longer of pondering, Aeloan states softly, we have that in common then. I last saw Daniel to the east of here. I followed him this far after speaking to the Datacorians who were with us. The last any of us knew. He was hunting the Dragon Lord. So it's true, it's not Trya this time. Gwenesphia appears from the shadows, bow knocked, but relaxing her draw as she approaches. Daniel defeated a dragon.
Aeloan looks at her, nodding.
I would expect that you didn't travel all this way if you believed otherwise. Trya states, you've met him. It would be difficult to believe.
But
why the Dragon Lord? Aeloan looks around, making sure the three of them are alone. She murmurs, join me at my hostel room. We should be cautious. Trya glances at Gwenesphia, who ponders for a moment. She nods and they agree. At the simple room, like an unfurnished inn, Aeloan makes a small dinner, gratefully accepting extra ingredients from their travel rations to offset the extra mouths, and as they eat, she explains her adventures with Daniel and his goal. From his perspective, he believes the Dragon Lord was going to be the bigger threat, since he sent his own brother to attack the northeastern fort belonging to the allied humankin. The villagers saw the dragons descend on the citadel, and shortly after, the citadel has been rumored to be up and running again. Gwenesphia asks, so, that should mean, no matter where he is, Daniel should make his way to the citadel, right? Aeloan agrees. That has been my hope, so I've spread word through the villages in hopes that if he does visit, that they'll inform him that I'm looking for him. I don't like not knowing.
I've been worried sick about him. We both have.
Trya flinches. She more diligently eats her food, avoiding speaking. Aeloan smiles softly.
I see.
The last time he and I spoke, he claimed that he favored men.
But
Trya nearly chokes on her food, and she begins coughing as Gwen stares at the demon woman. She's stunned for a moment, but the lieutenant sighs.
I see.
I don't think that's true. He is not above lying to try to protect people he cares about. He tricked me into leaving him by convincing me that we had been intimate, and that I would be with child. She looks away, and Trya catches her breath. Her voice is a little raspy, but she agrees. He tried something similar on me, and then tackled and hogtied me when I called his bluff. She wipes her mouth with her wrist. I owe him for that too.
Aeloan smiles. I see.
Then, we share a lot, it seems. Can you tell us about the dragons? Do they have weaknesses that we simply didn't know? Does Daniel have some sort of trick he used? Surprised, Aeloan asks, you didn't know? They both shake their heads.
She smiles.
Daniel is a Feldrock sorcerer. He is the most powerful sorcerer in the whole world. Trya and Gwenesphia both cock their heads in disbelief. Trya remarks, that's impossible.
It is possible.
He defeated the dragon and his attack force in mere minutes. His staff inflicted instant death on the Dragon Lord's brother with a single attack, and the same with a ground drake. The two Gatanine women glance at each other.
You're sure? Asks Gwenesphia.
Aeloan nods confidently. And I heard from my companions in the Datacorians that he similarly struck down the green sage in a single blow. There is nothing in this world that Daniel can't defeat. He might even be able to. The demon woman trails off softly, and Gwenesphia asks gently, might be able to? Aeloan looks at her, saying a little bitterly, your people don't care about what plagues us, but if anyone can defeat it, it has to be Daniel. He is the divine hero of this world. What do you mean by that? Aeloan scowls at her, murmuring, he's an otherworldly summon. Surely your people didn't summon him to assassinate our queen, did you? Trya and Gwenesphia both fall silent. It wasn't their own kingdom that performed the ritual, but the moment it was announced that two divine summons were brought forth by the ancient ritual, all of the eastern kingdoms celebrated.
And yet, the war continued on.
Gwenesphia admits softly, she is the highest enemy our people speak of. The Devourer is why we are forced eastward, and your people refuse to help us. Trya and Gwenesphia remain silent, unsure what to say. It's not untrue, though what the devourer is remains a mystery to them. What is the devourer?
Alolan sighs. Of course. Duchess Wenliana.
Wenliana squeaks and flinches with a start when her name is called out by a youthful, feminine voice. She faces the source, and she tenses a little and bows. She doesn't have any of her personal guards, since she's in the castle, but the relationship between the Grand Duchy and the kingdom are awkward since the brief dissolution of the treatises before the Bromlund peacekeeping action. It's the second princess, Princess Aramaya, who just appeared seemingly out of nowhere to confront Wenliana after she left a Hawk's lab after catching up with her successor and sharing a secret stash of enhanced magic crystals. Wenliana bows, Princess Aramaya. It is my humble pleasure to see you. I'd like to drop the formalities, Wenliana, and speak as friends if possible. I'll do my best, PR.
Aramaya. Aramaya smiles.
She trots closer and wraps her arm around Wenliana's, walking arm in arm with her as her two royal guards follow at a distance. Rikudo and my sister are wasting time trying to ignore what they did. Wenliana replies diplomatically, since she's no longer a court magic artisan and can't speak as candidly as she did with the royal family. The kingdom is fulfilling all of its obligations to the war effort, and His Majesty has spared no effort ensuring the safety and stability of our people.
Yes.
And to my knowledge, the Grand Duchess has profited quite well out of all the turmoil caused by Daniel's disappearance. Wenliana slows to a halt, and the princess stops with her, still keeping her arm interlocked. I'm not suggesting anything. I want to know where he is. I want to restore his rightful place with all of us and help our people with his wisdom and kindness. Wenliana looks away. You know as much as I know from the audience.
I know.
But, I'm curious what you are doing about it. Wenliana flinches a little. She looks at the princess, who smiles sincerely. I'm asking because I want to help. However I can. If I have to go to him to apologize, I will accompany you when you go. Wenliana hesitates, but she murmurs softly, I'm working on a mechanical vessel. It's a project nicknamed Iron Wyvern. That should tell you what you need, I hope.
Really?
Wenliana confirms, yes. Daniel gifted me a great many designs that I have adapted to our magic systems.
It'll take time, but
we'll be testing it in a couple of months.
Aramaya smiles.
I pray you have great success, Wenliana.
Thank you. How have you been? The young princess grins. I'm alive.
Every day is a blessing. Wenliana smiles and nods in agreement. Suddenly having an idea, Wenliana withdraws something from her notebook shoulder bag. She whispers, if you'll allow me, Aramaya, I'd like to give you a gift. She presents the item to the princess, who carefully takes the small box. She glances at Wenliana for a moment.
F for me.
Wenliana smiles and reassures her.
Indeed.
It's more useful than it looks. If you ever need it, please rely on it. Aramaya opens the box, and her eyes widen. A jewel larger than she has ever seen, and the prettiest shade of blue matching her own eyes, glistens in the light. Aramaya instinctively closes the box. She looks at Wenliana, who smiles. It's an enhanced water crystal. You may use it how you see fit. As former court magic artisan, Wenliana knows that Princess Aramaya has an affinity for water magic. Having an appropriate crystal matching one's affinity can allow a caster to conserve energy summoning that element to then be controlled in any way it could be needed, dependent on the skill level of the caster dash. Anyone could draw water out of the crystal, other than Daniel dash, but only a water mage could use that water as a shield, convert it to ice, spray it on a fire from a safe distance, and many other talents. Wenliana then bows, if you'll please excuse me though, I must return to my work, your highness. She parts with the princess, who is left speechless. Daniel yawns and stretches in his meeting chair in the Citadel's control area, where he met with Vergraze the first time. He was surprised the night prior when Ryuogriar called for him, and he helped her through laying her egg. More surprising was how quickly the egg developed, at least as far as he knew. He figured it would take months or even years, but instead, it only took a couple of weeks. Depending on how quickly it hatches, dragons could be a threat to the world's population. But those are future Daniel problems, and Ryuogriar, Rainleaf, and Gyrahole have given him very little reason not to trust their self-control and care for the world. Even Gyra was docile and polite the day she's been freed from her cell. Daniel is fully aware that they are likely all much older than he is, and likely they could outsmart him if they want, but for the three of them specifically, they really only need to outlive him, and they're right back to normal. However, Ryuogriar carrying around an obvious pregnancy prior to the recent past night carried a lot of weight with every single one of the dragons, amplified when Rainleaf revealed her own as well, if anyone was still skeptical. Of course, Hecate has made her feelings on the matter very well known. She's currently pouting on Daniel's lap, guarding him from the Demon Queen. Since she's technically the ruler of the Citadel, as far as anyone outside of the Citadel will be concerned, it's natural that she will be present for the meeting. Zyriko appeared from a teleport, reporting, "Master, material conversions are going smoothly. I have another shipment of or arriving later tomorrow, which will conserve mana, so I will focus on materials that we have in stockpile." "Sounds perfect," replies Daniel warmly. "Thank you, Zyriko." She steps up alongside him, taking position with him to await the arrival of the Demon Queen. Hecate asks, "Zyriko, can I stay the whole time this time? Have you practiced the mental exercises and spells I recommended?"
Yes.
Zyriko nods approvingly of Hecate's efforts.
Then, I will monitor the Queen.
If she attempts to employ telepathic magic, I will begin countermeasures. I have also prepared a more foolproof countermeasure, though I will unveil it only if needed. Daniel approves of her taking charge of defense. "I'm counting on you, Zyriko."
Thank you.
Hecate sits up on her knees on his lap to face him, saying excitedly, "Daniel, I learned magic to defend myself. We won't even need it." He smiles, petting her head. "I'm hoping we won't need it because she's a good person, but I'm glad you're being prepared. Trust but verify." She grins cheekily at him. When he explained his plan for the dragons to her, that was his excuse for the contracts. Of course, it's true. He does trust them well enough, but he also wants to look after people he can't actively protect himself. Zyriko suddenly states seriously, "Master," she approaches. He acknowledges her with a nod, checking his second model revolver briefly to ensure it's loaded. Thanks to Zyriko and the Citadel, he was able to manufacture and test this one extensively, compared to his first model, which he has hidden away in his secret hiding place in the castle, his secluded lab. As before, a winged wyvern appears in the distance, and it is flanked by two others. They fly to the large flyway platform leading outside from the control floor and looking out over the massive lake. The three wyverns land, and their riders calm the creatures briefly. Zyriko asks, "Shall I annihilate the others, Master?"
He scoffs.
"I think you know the answer to that. This was not agreed upon.
Such scheming.
I bet a personal favor that the Demon Queen approaches and verifies it's all right for her to have brought an attaché." Zyriko looks at him as the three dismount, and she remarks, "That does not preclude scheming to use numbers to their advantage. If you can annihilate them now, you can annihilate them if they attack. I'm betting they're not hostile." Zyriko straightens her posture.
Master.
"I appreciate you." Hecate states, "We could still annihilate the Demon Queen. That would be good, yes." She looks at Daniel pleadingly, and he smirks at her. He pinches her cheek, causing her to whine as she settles back down into a seated position on his lap, swishing her tail vigorously back and forth, brushing his chest and expressing her frustration and simple jealousy. Vergraze approaches, bowing politely. "Daniel of the Otherworld, I have returned as promised. I hope you have been well."
I have. Thank you. Same to you.
Was your trip safe? She smiles warmly.
Yes.
There are few airborne threats in the skies.
Hecate cuts in, excellent.
Then, I will be the one negotiating. You're not allowed to speak to Daniel anymore. Vergraze is stunned for a moment, and Daniel sighs. He asks Hecate, "Hecate, can you please let it go?"
No. Please.
She looks over her shoulder at him, pouting. She looks down, and then moans a little in disappointment. She concedes softly, "Fine. But you're not allowed to flirt with her." She makes a hand expression warning the Demon Queen that she's being watched. Vergraze smiles, looking at Daniel. "Before we begin, I would like to apologize for not sending a request, but I have brought a couple of my loyal advisors. I'd like them to serve as audience clerks to this meeting." Daniel glances at Zyriko, who silently returns his gaze, and he replies warmly, "That's fine with me, since you graciously flew all this way. You understand that they won't leave this place if you prove to be a threat." She acknowledges the warning with a graceful professionalism.
I'm aware.
"Please allow me to introduce my companions." She waves her companions over, and two more women approach, both apparently belonging to the Yuletol race, sharing similar features with the Queen. She gestures at one dressed similarly to herself, saying warmly, "This is my younger sister Thymeria. As you've correctly observed, my title is appointed, rather than inherited, but she has been my most loyal companion." Thymeria bows, saying politely, "I am Thymeria. It is my sincere pleasure to meet you, Lord Daniel. Daniel bows his head respectfully.
Daniel.
The pleasure is mine. Hecate tries to elbow back into him, and he whispers, Hecate, it's just a greeting.
You were flirty.
You never flirt with me. Then how would you know? She flinches, shrinking a little and remaining quiet for a bit. Vergraze then gestures to the woman, remaining a little behind them. She has a magic bag with her, and she has a less ceremonial-looking outfit. Her clothes, while similarly Eastern in design if Daniel were still on Earth, it reminds him of either more ancient Chinese or Japanese attire are more utilitarian and less elegant-looking. This is my esteemed confidante, Ileana. She has served our family since long before I became a shrine priestess.
Ileana bows, I am she.
A pleasure, Lord Daniel.
Likewise.
Thank you all for coming all this way.
You know me.
This here is Hecate, the official ruler of the citadel now. She snaps brazenly, crossing her arms, I am queen of the citadel and wife of Daniel. So don't get any ideas. The other three are quiet, but Daniel ignores Hecate's outburst. And this is our chancellor, for all intents and purposes, Zyriko.
Zyriko bows.
Welcome to our esteemed fortress. If you should need anything, please allow me. Daniel moves Hecate to her feet so he can also stand up, and he says gently, please join us at the meeting table that we set up. We'll discuss the immediate future. Vergraze nods respectfully.
Please lead.
The six take seats around a table with seating for more than just them, but for now, it's only the six of them. A handful of servant golems arrive with refreshments and snacks, and Daniel offers, if you feel weary, we can allow you to rest for now before our discussions. Vergraze replies warmly, much appreciated, Daniel, but our trip was more comfortable this time, thank you. If we could accept your hospitality prior to leaving, that would be much appreciated. Daniel agrees warmly, of course. That sounds reasonable. Now then, allow us to offer a gift. Vergraze gestures, and Ileana presents the magic bag she was carrying. Zyriko sends a golem around the table to retrieve it, and it vanishes in a teleport, surprising all three of the Yule-Tall women. But only a moment later, the golem reappears, handing the bag to Zyriko. Thymeria observes excitedly, you can teleport? Hecate is the quickest to answer, and boasts dash. We have many abilities that no one can match. That was just a tidbit. The junior shrine priestess asks excitedly, can it be taught? Thymeria, murmurs Vergraze softly. Hecate crosses her arms, saying a little arrogantly, but also surprisingly diplomatically, maybe. It depends on how this meeting goes. Zyriko inspects the bag herself. It's likely she had it sent off to be inspected in a control zone first, and now demonstrates the contents to Daniel. Potations, master. Daniel nods gratefully, and Vergraze explains, indeed. These are all of the revival potations we could collect. I hope if they are needed, they may be used well. Daniel thanks the Demon Queen. That's much appreciated. After searching our own inventory, we found that we only had 5 of our own. With these 5, I intend to keep 1 for our use, but the other 9 can go to the dragons. Which, of course, brings me to that topic. There were more dragons deceased than living. In total, 11 dragons survived, and all but 1 have agreed to the contracts. As for deceased dragons, I will allow you to confer with the survivors to choose dragons to resurrect.
I see.
I appreciate that you have humored returning them to me. I have no use for corpses that might be useful to someone else, replies Daniel candidly. And as prisoners they eat a lot. Thymeria asks gently, did you have to fight them? Hecate retorts sourly, Daniel protected himself and the citadel. If they had conquered it, there would be nothing stopping them from destroying everyone else. The 3 Yule-Tall are silent for a moment. Ileana murmurs, she's right. Vergraze glances at her for a moment, pondering. Daniel adds, I wasn't a warrior in my world. In fact, I was falling asleep and half-drunk when I arrived. If they hadn't attacked Fort Peony, they'd all likely be alive. Of course, the feral Feldrock would still be alive, and nothing would stand in the way of the Devourer. This causes the other 3 to sit up attentively, and Hecate grins, proud of her husband. You found a way to defeat it?
Not yet.
But, I have a weapon from my world that I doubt it can survive, just like the dragons.
This staff. Can you teach us to use them?
I swear that only myself and Thymeria will wield this power if you.
No.
This weapon is different, and I won't be sharing it with anyone until after I confirm that it can be guarded. She cocks her head, asking cautiously, You believe you'll be able to defeat the Devourer alone? You'll understand when you witness the power of this weapon.
Hecate nods proudly. We don't need anyone.
And they won't be alone. The newest speaker is a sultry and elegant voice as 3 new presences enter the room. As everyone looks, Vergray's chair falling when she stands up abruptly causes a calamitous noise. The 3 entering, of course, are Ryuogriar, Rainleaf, and Gyrahole. What is most shocking, however, is the large backpack-sized egg that Ryuogriar is carrying with a somewhat smug and wholly content smile. Zyriko has golems pull out chairs for them, allowing them to take seats at the table with the other 6.
Lady White.
Ryuogriar now, Your Majesty Vergrays. Please address me as such, and allow me to inform you of Rainleaf and Gyrahole's friendly names. Vergrays stares at her for a long moment, glancing at the easy-to-recognize dragons, even though they're in human form. She then stares at Ryuogriar's egg, causing Ryuogriar to grin proudly. I should thank you, Your Majesty. Because of your request, my life has drastically improved. All of ours, actually.
This is the first egg in
200 years.
Yes.
It would seem our fallen lord was not as proud and mighty as he fancied himself. Vergrays is silent for a long time, glancing at Ileana. Even the stoic-seeming confidant is visibly surprised, and Thymeria more innocently says, Congratulations, Lady Ryuogriar. Do you know when it should hatch? Thank you so much, Lady Thymeria. And if I recall correctly, our egg should hatch approximately 8 months after being laid. Daniel makes a mental note of that, and he nods at Zyriko, who acknowledges with a nod, understanding the silent message. Ryuogriar affectionately pets her egg, adding softly, We have hope and a future. A future we will ensure comes to pass. Vergrays bows her head, offering gently, We'll see that your egg gets the utmost care, and prepare facilities to. Excuse me, Your Majesty. There seems to have been a misunderstanding. Vergrays pauses. There has? Ryuogriar nods with her time-perfected grace. I can only speak for myself for certain, but I will not be leaving. Daniel has kept his word, and I shall repay his many kindnesses. I have no loyalty to our former lord. Daniel has earned my loyalty. In such a brief time. Ryuogriar smiles, emphasizing the existence of the egg once more as she pets it. And without prompting, Rainleaf inadvertently draws attention to herself when she tries to shrink into her outfit to do the same for her belly, which still houses her egg. Gyra looks away from Daniel, but she adds softly, I want to stay with my seniors and ensure they are treated well.
And
Vergrays, once more stunned, looks at Daniel. He replies politely, These 3 are welcome to stay, since Hecate was able to vouch for them. The others are free and will likely choose to go with you. Their contracts are more restrictive and bound to Hecate as well as myself, but I won't provide them orders that they can't refuse. We're free, Your Majesty. I'm holding an egg. My loyalty has been bought and paid for, if you genuinely believe me to have a price. If you know better, then you know. Daniel intends to save this world. Vergrays murmurs, You mentioned your willingness. But, she looks directly into Daniel's eyes. Can your weapon really stop the Devourer?
Have you seen it? It's humongous. Truly a titan.
Even our most powerful coordinated strikes were unable to drive it back, let alone defeat it. Daniel replies sincerely, I only have the weapons of my world that I can draw upon. One of them proved capable of slaying dragons, which were believed to be unbeatable. Gyra murmurs bluntly, and you haven't apologized. Ryuogriar hisses, Gyra.
Once more, Daniel brushes it off.
Neither have you, Gyra. You attacked my home. She huffs, looking away from him. I suppose we're even then.
Agreed.
No hard feelings. She shoots him a quick, brief glance, and then looks away. Fortunately, she nods in agreement. Daniel smiles at Vergrays. I have spoken to the others about using the weapon I intend to use. We've agreed to keep it secret after the fact, particularly because it likely will succeed. If it doesn't, then I'll think of something else. I have a few options to try. These weapons, you had monsters like the Devourer. Daniel shakes his head. No. Just kingdoms and empires. It was used to break the spirit of a warrior nation. If that is true, then they were no true warrior nation, disputes Ileana. Again, I suspect you will understand when you see it. The group is silent for a moment. Finally Vergrays asks, how soon can you utilize this weapon? Daniel replies with a prepared answer, 6 months.
C-6 months.
Will that not be soon enough? She fidgets, and Thymeria fills in, it is encroaching on the threshold to our next closest people. It will likely drive them eastward in the next 2 months.
I see.
Can they be evacuated temporarily? Ileana replies softly, no. Even if it is defeated the day you are able to finish it, the destroyed areas will likely be unusable for half a year more at a minimum. Assuming the mana can be restored.
I see. Then,
you'll be forced to invade eastward. The 3 Yultal are silent. Daniel writes a shorthand note in English, and he hands it to Zyriko. He had her learn English through magic shortly before the meeting, and he also had her learn his shorthand notes by giving her a cheat sheet. In code, he's asking her how many refugees the Citadel could handle receiving as a surge. She writes an answer, handing it back to him. 250k is her response, meaning 250,000 people could suddenly move into the surrounding areas and survive for the time being, given current production capacity and resources. If they can be convinced to donate their magic to the Citadel, according to his understanding, that population can grow. Daniel asks, how many people are we talking about being displaced?
Just a rough number.
Vergraze replies softly, millions. Daniel nods as his suspicion is confirmed.
He sighs.
I don't approve of the war, but I know you're doing your best to minimize the impact. If diplomacy is still failing, then, I suppose you have to do what you can to keep your people alive. Thymeria asks urgently, could you speak to them on our behalf, Lord Daniel? Surely, as a summoned hero, they'll listen to what you have to say. You could convey our situation.
They have to understand.
It's not forever. Daniel is respectfully quiet for a moment. He replies apologetically, I'm sorry. I was banished for my behavior. I fear I'd sooner make the situation worse. I can't reprimand you for what you have to do, but the longer you can hold off, the better. Ileana asks coldly, do you intend to use your mystery weapon dash?
No.
Daniel's reply startles everyone. I wouldn't make this weapon if there was anything I could think of that would work instead. But, I've been told it's the size of kingdoms. I didn't even want to do it at all.
I'm still afraid.
But, Daniel looks at the 3 dragons, as well as Zyriko and Hecate. He adds softly, I have reasons to protect the future of this world. If I could kill it with mere magic or a special summon ability, I would. Instead, all I have is the technology of my world that I can barely cobble together. I can't promise anything but one thing, that I will give my all to stop it. Everything else, I have no say over. Thymeria looks down, but Vergraze says softly, if there's anything we can do to help. As I said, do what you have to in order to survive, but the longer you can hold off tragedy, the better. She agrees softly, it'll take time to mobilize. If you can house the dragons, perhaps we can ration.
We can do that.
I wish I could do more. Vergraze is quiet for a moment. She smiles, I'm putting my trust in you to handle the Devourer, Daniel. I have faith in your words. And, I will trust you to handle your power with care. He bows his head respectfully.
I want no power.
Once it's done, consider it gone. After that, Zyriko provides dinner that they all share, and he leads them to meet with the surviving dragons that chose to remain in their draconic forms. She informs them that they're free to leave the Citadel for the time being, but that Daniel and Hecate will provide them with food and lodging through the preparations for the next invasion. If they can survive long enough for Daniel to unleash his weapon, they'll hold off. Of course, what only he and Zyriko know is that he should be able to test the first weapon in a couple of weeks, and the attack run will be as soon as possible after that. He is counting on Vergraze moving people as far away from the Devourer as possible. Since they suspect it's a Feldrock, or was once upon a time dash, it should have a singular point of life somewhere within its massive body, likely located near the center. As long as Daniel can destroy most of it, it should die, no matter how far spread it is. He knows Zyriko is the only one who believes Daniel at his word about how destructive nuclear weapons can be. It's clear that the dragons and Hecate have no real concept of the destructive ability. And they don't fully grasp how dangerous it is. If and when word of it reaches Rikudo, he'll know Daniel broke one of the greatest taboos of their summoning, greater even than making firearms. But if he could fully what they're up against, he might understand. Regardless, for now, Daniel has work to do. Rukana fidgets as she watches the wyverns leave the citadel from her location just outside of one of the villages. The Gatanine women met up with a succubus, and the 3 seem to be waiting for something. However, the situation is growing worse and worse. Not only was the Demon Queen able to arrive and depart from the citadel unchallenged, there are in fact dragons perched and basking in the sun leisurely, taking flights around the castle, and otherwise making themselves at home in the formerly defunct castle, the only location in this world, or any world that she knows of able to withstand and repel divine beings. Graham appears near her, reporting his arrival. My lady goddess. It's as bad as it looks, isn't it? We're not sure what to make of it. A great deal of magical power is concentrated within the citadel, as you know, and the dragons have made it their new home. It's possible the meeting with the Demon Queen is in preparation for another invasion. Sorelin appears next, and she reports, Lady Goddess, there are rumors that Daniel was able to defeat a dragon. They claim he had a magic staff. Is it perhaps a divine treasure? Rukana shakes her head, still watching as the queen flies away. No. I had no idea Daniel was in this world until long after he was lost. The divine treasure I left for Rikudo has still not been found. I know how fortunate I am that he has managed to survive after all of this.
I hope.
Graham murmurs, there seem to be no recent rumors other than those that point in the direction of this castle.
If he was killed.
Rukana is silent for a long time. Sorelin asks softly, My lady goddess. Should Rikudo be informed of the movements of the Demon Queen? The goddess replies distantly, direct intervention is just as dangerous as doing nothing. I specifically chose Rikudo because he had no family and no close friends on Earth. If I intervene, he'll be sent back whether he chooses to or not.
I see.
But without any way to find Daniel, and a war threatening to escalate.
I know.
But in this case, my failure had no impact on this world's fate. Just the fate of an innocent person. She looks down, biding her time for something to happen. She's not sure what her options are, since it's an unprecedented situation for her. She could ask for help from Chaos and Order, but they may abandon Daniel and strip Rukana of her authority over this world, forever stranding him if he's still alive. If he has perished already, Order will likely have already processed his soul and cleansed the energy to be reused in a new life that would never be Daniel's again. She looks at Graham. Make your best effort to inform Rikuto of the coming invasion. It'll likely be within the next couple of months, or more solid information should reach him. Just plant the seed and let him work through it. Are you certain, my lady goddess?
Yes.
When I reveal my failure to Chaos and Order, Rikudo will suffer either way. Let him try to prove his worth to them on his own merits before I do so, and they should grant him what he desires and detach his fate from mine. Sorelin murmurs, if they find out you intervened.
I know.
Which is why Rikudo should be made to understand the whole truth. The observers are silent for a moment. She looks at them, and they look down, averting their gazes. My lady goddess, your wish is our command. But, please ensure that this is the command you wish to give.
I'm certain.
I'll stay and keep searching for Daniel. And if I can't find him soon, I'll report back to Chaos and Order on my failure. The observers hesitate one last time, but they nod. As you wish, my lady. They vanish into thin air, leaving Rukana alone to ponder on the immediate future.
Just one sign.
One small hint that Daniel is alive somewhere, and she'll do everything in her power to fix it. The 2 weeks pass, and Daniel looks at his abominable creation. From a design standpoint, it is rather crisp and functional. He has a manual, spring-loaded timer and a calculated value for gravity by performing the age-old technique of dropping various objects from really high up and timing fall to work out the acceleration. It won't be perfect, but as long as he's within a handful of seconds, the final detonation height shouldn't matter. It should also detonate on impact in the worst-case scenario, which should still do plenty of damage. Detonating nukes above the ground allows the blast to spread further and deliver more energy over a wider area, so it's the ideal. But as long as Daniel can hit the center and do devastating damage to the Devourer, there's a very good chance it will perish no matter what. At a fundamental level, Feldrox are living beings. This one just seems to have lost control of its ability to absorb magic and souls. As he's pondering his most terrible creation, Zyriko knocks on the door.
Master.
Yeah. She can't enter the room because of the weapon. They haven't researched it very thoroughly yet, but radioactive material seems to have a field that negates magic. It could be that it's absorbing magic, like magic is an inverse of radiation in some capacity, but it's not proportional to the type or amount of radioactive decay of the material in question. Regardless, magic does not work in the presence of uranium, polonium, deuterium, or tritium, which the simplistic bomb is abundant in. Master, there are visitors. Has Hecate met with them yet? She was going to, but there was a complication. Sensing that she wants a more direct answer, Daniel heads to the door. I'm coming out. I'm away from the door, master. Please exit freely. He opens the door and steps outside, closing it behind him. He asks politely, "What's the problem?" Both Hecate and I recognize the sigil they bear. Daniel cocks his head. And she points at the simple black sigil on Daniel's shoulder, emulated on his armor to match the one on the jacket he wore since receiving it from Wenliana. He asks, surprised, "This one?" She confirms with a nod. An emblematic representation of a Feldrock, yes? He nods in turn as he ponders options. And it's identical? Yes. Perfectly. 6 out of the 10 are human as well. Daniel doesn't finish the claim of being impossible. He knows better. Truly, if he could make it this far, probably anyone else in this world could reach the Citadel, as long as they weren't spotted by dragons along the way. And now that the dragons are enjoying the luxuries of the Citadel without the responsibilities imposed upon them by the Lord and his brother, they spend most of their days leisurely flying, basking in the sun, or swimming in the lake. At a glance, it would look like the dragons successfully conquered the Citadel. In fact, if the stories of Daniel driving back or defeating the dragon at Fort Peony reached any distance east of the mountains, then seeing so many dragons in one place should specifically mean he isn't present. All of that being true, there isn't much reason for a squad of Stalvoltan soldiers to specifically come to the Citadel, unless Rikudo sent them to deal with Daniel because he broke the pact. Daniel says in a neutral tone, "Have they said anything yet?" "Only that they're looking for someone." "I see. Assume they're assassins." Daniel withdraws his helmet from his magic bag, putting it on. "If they do attack me, assume I can't defeat them if you would." "Master. I didn't have any relationships good enough to warrant a rescue this far into enemy territory, less so from a fortress crawling with dragons when I am rumored undoubtedly to have driven them back or defeated them. It's more likely the summon that arrived with me is specifically removing my weapons from the equation, by eliminating the only one who can build them." "I see. That does make more sense." Daniel nods when she understands. If he discovers this weapon, he knocks on the lab door to emphasize his point. He'll stop at nothing to have me eliminated to protect this secret. Can this other summon build these weapons? I genuinely don't know. Assuming it works, you might believe that this knowledge was surprisingly easy to piece together from what was available to all people in our world. At least close enough to be dangerous. The hindrance would have been getting a hold of the materials without drawing attention. If he realizes I already have one, or even the materials alone, he'll be even more desperate than if he thinks I have the rifle and revolver, which I probably left a shell casing behind. I can eliminate them immediately if you wish. No. I'll hear them out and try to cover my own trail. Please color change my armor to hide the sigil. She obeys with a nod, changing his armor to a standard-looking charmalcol pattern that simply glows in a gradient, most brightly colored near the sword on his hip. He's not sure what to expect, but Daniel has even less reason to die than he arrived in this world with. So, for now, he'll remain cautious. Shortly after Daniel finished the first of his 2 planned nuclear weapons made with his best guesses, memories from Earth, and deduction from what he knows of the principles of their operation, some strange visitors arrived at the Citadel requesting an audience in spite of the dragons flying around. They weren't deterred by the Citadel's location deep in the Demon Wildlands, nor the fact that Daniel has laid low while building the nukes in hopes of keeping them almost entirely secret other than if and when they destroy the Devourer, a monster consuming the Demon Wildlands and eventually the whole world. After putting his armor's helmet on, Daniel should be extremely difficult to kill, but because he's not a melee fighter, the visitors could still prove deadly. They arrived bearing the sigil of the Stalvoltan Grand Duchy, an emblematic symbol of a Feldrock wielding all 6 of the fundamental magic elements. Zyriko teleports them both to just outside of the ground floor audience chamber, where she lets him enter before they are brought in. Hecate is lounging in the throne, and she perks up when he enters. "Daniel." "Sure. Whatever you do, don't call me that in front of them unless I reveal it, please. I want to try to fish for information." Zyriko clarifies, "We are not certain why they have come all this way. They could be assassins posing as allies." Hecate coos, "Ah? Yes, that makes sense." She casts a spell, and a barrier appears around her. She grins at Daniel, and he nods. Try not to provoke them, but feel free to pick their brains for information. Metaphorically. She nods brightly and eagerly. "Will do. Leave it to me, darling." She grins at him. He sighs but adds playfully, "I suppose we have no choice this time." She giggles, waving at the door, and the golems open the double doors gesturing for the soldiers to walk in. The soldiers, all wearing the Stalvoltan sigil on some part of their outfits, walk in cautiously. They notice that there are no dragons on the throne, but they remain cautious. Without prompting, the captain of the squad halts the squad at a fair distance, kneeling as the others follow suit. "Forgive our intrusion, Your Majesty. I am Captain Muindis of the Stalvoltan Guard's 3rd Battalion Advance Reconnaissance Unit, Wormgaze. These are my soldiers. If necessary, I shall introduce them, but I would spare you the time by speaking for them if it so pleases you." Hecate sits up in her throne as she looks down at the soldiers. "Well met, Captain Muindis of the Stalvoltan Grand Duchy." He looks up at her with a hint of surprise, and she smirks. "Oh? Am I wiser than my years would suggest?" She looks at Daniel asking brightly, "Did you see that, darling? I surprised him with my wisdom." Daniel acknowledges her with a silent nod. Hecate then rocks in her seat for comfort, facing the captain once more. "You'd be surprised with what all I know, even though I'm so young. I know how many dragons there are, I know the Demon Queen V personally, and I know that Fort Peony was defended by someone called the Harbinger of Calamity, all by his lonesome." Captain Muindis is a little disarmed by Hecate rattling off randomly specific knowledge, or claims that she has that knowledge dash. But he replies, "Your Majesty, I am indeed impressed. Though, I must apologize. I am ignorant of these lands and the rulers. Not for lack of trying, I swear it to you." She nods as he's finishing. Yes. I imagine it was difficult. I haven't had many visitors. Just the Demon Queen V, some jerkface named Goo something, and the dragons you probably saw." He reluctantly nods in agreement with her assessment. "You must be quite powerful and wise to command dragons."
Oh, I don't command them. They're more like parasites.
"I can't get rid of them." She waves her hand dismissively at the thought. She then introduces herself. "Regardless, I am Hecate, ruler of the Citadel ever since my darling won it for me." "Your darling?" asks Captain Muindis. "As in, the knight behind you?" She grins proudly.
"Yep. He's my husband.
"And he's kind and strong and wields the most powerful magic. Does your darling have a name, Your Majesty Hecate?"
She scoffs.
"That's presumptuous of you to pry into my personal affairs of my loved ones in my own castle. Did you not come for an audience with me?" Muindis bows. "Of course you're right, Your Majesty. If you would hear my request, I would be sincerely grateful." She hums, scratching her chin as her tail sways back and forth.
Eh. All right.
"Speak your request, and I'll decide what to do with it."
He bows his head.
"Thank you, Your Majesty. As it turns out, we are looking for the man known as the Harbinger of Calamity. He is a human from our Grand Duchy, but he was banished through a series of misunderstandings."
I see.
That sounds like a pretty sloppy way to treat someone if mere misunderstandings could lead to a banishment. "You speak the truth, Your Majesty. Our trail has led us far, and includes the identity Feldrock Sorcerer, or his true name Daniel, as if he journeyed here of his own accord, if the rumors are to be believed, to slay the Dragon Lord. We are willing to pay heavily for any information that leads to his current whereabouts."
Hecate hums again in thought.
"And you believe this? Daniel has found his way here." Muindis nods in confirmation. "This is where his trail ends. The villages around the area have not seen Daniel, and we have heard the Dragon Lord was here. Daniel, the Harbinger of Calamity, struck down our kin." The regal and powerful voice of Ryuogriar fills the room at a strangely comfortable volume, even though it projects to everyone when she speaks, like a natural-born queen. She walks up alongside Hecate, still carrying her egg proudly in the carrier harness Daniel made for her. Rainleaf joins her, both standing to Hecate's left as Daniel stands on her right. Rainleaf also has her egg, similarly laid in a night of strain and cuddling with Daniel for comfort, though she is more comfortable holding her egg mostly inside of her shroud-like dress. Ryuogriar adds sternly, "It would be strange to find Daniel here, where dragons nest, would it not?" She grins, and the Stalvoltan guards, each one a special forces commando in their own right with magic and weapon mastery combined into one, shiver nervously as primal fear grips them. Hecate sighs, asking dryly, "Must you bring those with you everywhere you go?" Rainleaf clings to her egg even more possessively, murmuring, "Yes." Ryuogriar replies more logically, "Not must, but a profound desire. You'll understand someday, my lady Hecate." Hecate sighs, turning her attention back on the soldiers. "I agree though. I would think I would know if this Harbinger of Calamity was roaming around my castle."
I see.
"That is an inconvenience, but ours to bear, of course. Your Majesty, if I may so humbly request, Have you heard of the Harbinger of Calamity's whereabouts more recently than the Datakorian village? I would suppose I'm like you in that matter. I have heard many things, but nothing useful and concrete.
But it's my turn.
You claim this dangerous human is in my domain. For what reason do you seek his whereabouts? Perhaps to assassinate someone. Ideally, if possible, we'd like to prevent the assassination of the Dragon Lord and avoid a diplomatic incident.
I see.
So, you intend to arrest him and return to your empire? That is correct.
Ah.
But you have heard, yes? We can confirm it. With his sorcery, he struck down dragons with ease. What do you intend to do if he resists?
You're in my domain.
If he resists, the collateral would be untenable. I am confident Daniel will come with us willingly. You just said you would arrest him. Is he a fugitive or an ally? Captain Muindis hesitates, pondering carefully his next words. He admits, he is an ally of our Grand Duchy, Your Majesty.
An ally, is it? Then what of justice?
I cannot overstate that he slayed dragons, allies of my companions here. They may be parasites, but I still consider them friends, I guess. Ryuogriar gives Hecate a brief scowl, but resumes looming over the soldiers with her icy calm and somewhat smug gaze. Rainleaf, on the other hand, couldn't care less about the meeting, as her focus is almost obsessively on her egg. Muindis sighs softly. Your Majesty, our orders specifically were to return to the Grand Duchy with Daniel. I cannot speak to the logic of our leaders. Hecate suddenly groans indignantly as she leans around childishly in her throne.
Ga'a.
I don't get it at all. You said he was banished under a misunderstanding, but you acknowledge that he's an enemy of dragons, and you claim you're going to arrest him and take him back. Which is it? She glares at the soldiers fiercely, using her magic aura no doubt, and the flare of magical energy invisible to all but those who can detect magic, which is everyone in this room save Daniel, apparently, causes the soldiers to flinch. Between helping Daniel conquer the citadel and training her magic with Ryuogriar and Zyriko, Hecate is rapidly approaching the level of strongest magic user in the world. Given her small size and young age, it's additionally surprising, since it's safe to assume, even if she weren't a Feldrock, that she would continue to get stronger. With her heart-stopping glare, Hecate growls her finishing question to her outburst. Are you here to bring him to justice or not? Daniel is unfazed by the three women treating him like a villain in the conversation. Hecate, specifically, is using her immaturity and indignance to force a terror-fueled honest answer out of the soldier, or seeing how committed to diplomacy they are otherwise. The soldier is quiet for a long time, and he glances over his shoulder at his men. Several can't look up from the ground. One of them seems to be praying. Those that are feigning composure are trembling lightly. In spite of their prowess in ground warfare, every one of them knows that the two dragons and the strange fox-like girl has them hopelessly outmatched, let alone the mystery knight and the golem standing silently and unfazed by the stifling auras of the dragons and the girl. Captain Muindis takes a deep breath, and he admits softly, Your Majesty, I have relayed my mission as I know it. As such, were we to find evidence that Daniel has perished, our search could conclude. It would make our jobs easier, and our Lady Wenliana could move on. This Wenliana was the one wronged by Daniel?
No.
As I understand it, she's interested in his ability to work on magic tools.
Our
Grand Duchy has profited greatly from monopolizing his technology. If he were unable to make it for others, that would be as good as returning him to the Grand Duchy. Hecate gives a serious nod, her tone cold.
I see.
Since you have shown me your hand. Hecate snaps her fingers, and Zyriko steps up, withdrawing a reddish-brown jacket from magic storage and presenting it to Hecate. Hecate takes it, just as carelessly tossing it to the floor in front of Muindis. He shifts uncomfortably when he sees the emblem on the shoulder, the very same one they're wearing. Hecate states mercilessly, I'll accept your tribute and your gratitude, now that I know we were on the same side in this matter. Humans disgust me, and this one was no different. Daniel of the Otherworld is dead.
I claimed him myself.
If you would like his body, I can provide you his bones, but nothing more. You know how goblins can get with their food. She smirks, waving her hand idly to emphasize her carefree attitude about it all. Muindis is silent for a long time. It's clear that, although he said the words, the return trip is not one to look as forward to as they hoped. After all, Daniel doubts that if his absence represents a loss of profit, that Arameliana will be particularly pleased. He knows she's not a heartless monster, but she is probably one of the most prolific capitalists in this world. Her priorities run family, profits, allies, friends, and finally assets. Daniel would never be arrogant enough to believe he rose above friend at best, meaning profits come long before his well-being. And in that vein, protecting the monopoly if need be is preferable only if having Daniel as an asset is impossible. Hecate finishes with, "You may give your tribute to my service golems, and your gratitude directly to me, if that was unclear." Captain Muindis flinches and bows his head. He states in a slightly deadened tone, "Your Majesty, while the outcome is not ideal, I must express my sincerest gratitude for your aid in helping us locate the whereabouts of Daniel and his ultimate fate." The other soldiers bow their heads. Daniel feels a little bad for them having to report back to Arameliana with less than ideal news, but having the kingdom believe that he is dead will stop them from wasting resources continuing the search. Especially because he's about to do something that will almost certainly make him an enemy of the kingdom if Rikudo jumps to conclusions. Please accept this token of our gratitude for your assistance in this matter, as well as your hospitality meeting with us. Hecate waves in a haughty and dismissive way. Yes, yes. It was my pleasure. Zairiko's servant golem collects the offering from the captain, a large bag that jingles with gold. When the golem spreads out the tribute before Hecate, she notices a rather large gemstone. And so does Daniel. Its shape is that of a magic crystal, but he knows from the glisten and the blue color that it is a synthetic diamond. Muindis adds, "I hope these humble offerings will be to your liking, Your Majesty Hecate." She inspects the diamond, nodding. "I have never seen a stone like this." She allows the envious-looking Ryuogriar to take it briefly, and she inspects it as well. The dragon woman murmurs, "This is pure diamond." Surprised, Rainleaf adds, "Diamond? That's huge." Muindis remains humble, and Hecate smiles. "Captain Muindis, for this gracious offering, I shall allow you to take refuge for the night in the castle town. You have my word that you will be safe, in spite of the denizens of the town disliking humans, as you are my guests. You will be fed and sent on your way in the morning. Thank you for your hospitality, Your Majesty. We humbly accept your offer." She nods, waving her hand to dismiss them. "You may go. Thank you for your tribute, and may our exchange grant our peoples the beginning of a hospitable acquaintanceship." He bows, "I cannot speak on behalf of the Grand Duchy of Stalvolten, but I shall relay your words faithfully, Your Majesty." She nods one last time like a regal ruler, and the Stalvolten guards make their way out. Once Zairiko gives the signal that they are out of earshot and she's blocking sound, Hecate leaps from her chair, pouncing onto Daniel as she pleads, "Forgive me, Daniel. I said such dreadful things. Please believe me. They were all lies. I love you. Well, I don't know how I feel about humans, but I don't care that you are one. Please love me." He chuckles, petting her head. "You did perfectly, Hecate. I never doubted you for a minute. Thank you for protecting me." She sniffles and hugs him, and Ryuogriar bows, adding, "I hope the same extends to me, but I do apologize, Master. My words, too, were chosen only to hide your identity." "I know," replies Daniel approvingly. "Thank you all. Your arrival was actually rather timely and effective, I'd say." She smiles. "If I may say so, my cherished master, I was selfishly going to ensure they did not take you back with them." He scoffs, and Hecate adds sassily, "They would have had to go through me first anyways." Rainleaf, still affectionately focused on her egg, coos, "Master, for the record, I said nothing disparaging about you." He chuckles. "I noticed, Reina. You just came to show off, didn't you?" She blushes, nodding. Ryuogriar says proudly, "We have much to show off. Our race has hope once more. And, with noble guidance, we will no longer be the most feared race. We will be the grandest and most loved." Before Hecate can launch into a tirade, Zairiko cuts in cautiously, "Master, I approve of the course of the meeting to a point." All four of the others look at her, and Daniel says gently, "Go ahead, Zairiko. Tell me. Are you certain it was wise to let them go? When they report your death to their domain, should we expect retaliation? If your fears are that we have your technology, will they not wish to erase it?" Daniel takes his helmet off, replying gently, "I don't think so. I was serious when I said Ryuo and Reina arriving was extremely timely. I don't know how much the Eastern Kingdoms know about dragons, but they do seem to understand that there aren't that many. Seeing two with their eggs is sure to imply that, if nothing else, the dragons are nesting here, which means they'll fiercely defend it. I hope." Ryuogriar immediately steps in close to lean against his shoulder, and Hecate hums in disapproval while the dragon replies, "My nest is wherever you are, Daniel, and I shall defend us all with the full extent of my power." Rainleaf nods in agreement, cuddling close to his other side. Daniel chuckles. "Much appreciated." He continues his answer to Zairiko, The kingdoms have to rally as much support as possible in hopes of defending against one dragon, knowing they'll see losses. I sincerely doubt they would attempt to attack a dragon nest where they saw no fewer than 4 dragons, as far as I can guess. Plus, Hecate is an unknown quantity, since they clearly felt her magic, but don't know her race. I see, murmurs Zyriko as she agrees with the assessment. And allowing them to return with news of your demise will squash any further investigations.
That's my hope.
Retaliation against the dragons won't gain them anything, and risks only provoking the dragons that aren't currently attacking them. Hecate made a good point of ensuring that there is some kind of animosity related to me killing dragons, so attempting vengeance for such a person would spark her ire as well. Zyriko nods as she pieces it together.
I see.
You're surprisingly astute at this, Master.
Hardly.
You all did all of the work. I'm not good at planning things like these, but I can definitely analyze the benefits after the fact. That's why I stayed silent. I didn't recognize any of those men, but if one of them recognized my voice, the entire charade would be ruined.
So, they spoke the truth?
The Stalvoltan Grand Duchy is where you lived.
For a time.
The daughter of the Grand Duchess was the one who employed me. That diamond is actually synthetic. We made a machine to produce the diamonds. It seems they have been using them as financial assets to boost their wealth, since diamonds are typically extremely rare. A machine to make diamonds? Asks Ryuogriar softly. Zyriko attempts to speculate. So, you were able to make a summoning device, Master?
He shakes his head. Not a summoning device.
It's based on machines used in my old world. It uses manufactured graphite to turn it into diamond with high heat and pressure, mimicking the real conditions that produce diamonds. Zyriko puts her hand to her forehead, muttering, "Of course. You made diamonds without magic." Technically, I used some magic in this world. Magic crystals. The reason being we wanted to make diamonds into magic crystals. Rainleaf is the one that takes notice of that. You can store magic in diamonds? Daniel confirms with a nod.
Yes, ma'am.
They're more efficient and sturdy than the type we used in the East. I haven't seen nearly as much magic equipment in the Demonkin territories. Ryuogriar answers his unspoken question. The short reason is because we have virtually no access to salt, so the necessary crystals have become scarce.
Daniel sighs.
The Devourer?
She nods once. All right.
Well, the first one is assembled.
Zyriko?
Have you found a suitable location?
She confirms. Yes, Master.
Good. Then, we have to practice the drop action. I hate to ask this, but I'll need someone that can fly me and the 5-ton bomb without magic, escape the magic negation field after drop, and then teleport quickly to a safe distance. Hecate starts to volunteer, but she stops. She still hasn't even attempted to transform into her true Feldrock form, and it's pretty obvious she probably won't have the strength without magic. That leaves the dragons, and Rainleaf looks at Ryuogriar. Ryuogriar thinks. She murmurs, I can probably carry the weight, but I have never learned teleportation magic. Hecate adds, and I can teleport others, but I don't know that I could teleport Ryuo at full size. She genuinely seems disappointed in herself.
Daniel thinks for a moment.
Zyriko adds, obviously, I can do little in this scenario. He reassures her, adding enough lead shielding to the whole bomb to grant you access would vastly increase the weight. I would love to have an airplane to carry it, but it's a long road to making all of those components to make it work without magic. Daniel suddenly perks up. Hecate, you could theoretically teleport the 3 of us at this size, right? She confirms, a little unsure, but fairly confident, I think so, but I'll practice before we try for real. He nods as one more piece falls into place.
Agreed.
Then Ryuo, can you fly in your human form? She nods in reply, casting a brief spell that sprouts wings on her back. Such trifles are simple, Master. I have studied many forms of transformation magic in my years of life. He smiles, asking next, and do you think you could carry the 2 of us in this state?
She smirks. With ease, Master.
But if it will reassure you, I will happily practice with Hecate. Rainleaf offers gently, I could accompany the 3 of you while she's in dragon form as well and aid in retreat. Assuming Hecate can teleport for. Hecate nods in agreement. I'll do my best. But we should practice. Definitely. Zyriko, do you know what the range of teleportation magic is? If the coordinates are known, I could teleport to anywhere in the world, assuming I have enough magical power. If you're simply returning to a specific point, such as the Citadel's receiving circle, The spell is significantly condensed and easier to cast. Daniel ponders all of the new information. Good. We can work with this. So, let me just verify, are you three okay with doing these things? All three agree without hesitation, and he asks, you won't feel degraded, Ryuogriar? Why would I? My beloved master is asking for something only I can do. It's also incredibly dangerous. All the more reason to ensure you come back safely. He scoffs, but nods in assent. Rainleaf. She smiles. If I don't help now, then I have no right to complain about the outcome. Hecate, still hanging from Daniel's front, smiles and nuzzles his cheeks with her own. Of course I'll do anything you ask, Daniel. You're my husband and I love you. He chuckles, petting her head. Much appreciated, Hecate. She adds sharply, but you're not allowed to cheat on me ever again. He sighs. I haven't. Never. Fine. She smiles, wagging her tail happily as her big ears bounce with her happy giggling. The next few days, the five of them run drills about how they'll drop the bomb, starting with a flight to a faraway location, and then Hecate teleporting them all back with a return spell. It drains her, but Zyriko suggests producing several more diamonds through the summoning circle to charge with pure mana to act as backup magic for her. It works successfully, allowing Hecate to use the return spell multiple times. Zyriko also produces 5 diamonds each for Ryuogriar and Rainleaf to bolster their own magic reserves, just in case. Just because they can reach it and drop a bomb doesn't mean the Devourer won't put up a fight. Especially if it comprehends how much danger it is in. While reluctant about the idea, Gyrahole agrees to watch the eggs for Ryuogriar and Rainleaf for the mission, since her own belly deters her from helping. However, Daniel seeks her out for a different reason during one of the rest days for the magic users. He asks her to make a large fabric sheet stitched with ropes, a parachute. It'll serve as backup for them all, though they should be okay. She accepts, knocking one more thing off of Daniel's list that only seems to grow as he remembers things each step of the way. After 5 days of training runs, the group gathers in the morning at the control room of the Citadel. Zyriko is with them, and she murmurs softly, I wish there was more I could do, Master. But, I cannot get any closer to the weapon. Daniel looks at the flyway where her eye line is currently facing. There, the simplistic metal canister hiding the greatest monster of Earth is resting in quiet slumber. He replies, you've done plenty. But if you're willing, you could send an expendable golem with wings to stay at a distance and observe for as long as possible. That would be helpful. She nods. I'll send several and have them keep at range from your group. Until the magic is negated, I will be able to observe. I'd recommend against having your consciousness observe directly. I don't know how the light will affect you. She is quiet for a moment. She murmurs, Master. You don't have to be afraid. Daniel takes a breath and sighs. No. I wish I could convince you all to be as afraid as I am. Perhaps. Hecate takes his hand gently. We're in this together. We won't fail. He smiles, nodding. Reina and Ryuo are with Gyra nearby, murmuring farewells to their eggs in the simple bed in the control room that will house the eggs until they return, the first place they can get to after returning. Daniel also finished the second bomb the recent night prior, so assuming the test bomb works, they will be ready to engage the Devourer as soon as Hecate, Ryuo, and Reina can rest. He takes a deep breath, looking out over the flyway. Wish us luck, Zyriko. Good luck, my master. Return safely before all other alternatives. He smiles and nods warmly. We'll be back before you know it. He looks at his 3 partners in the mission. Ryuo, Reina, Hecate, are you ready? Hecate laughs boisterously. Of course I am. I'm ready to save the world. Ryuogriar and Rainleaf both stand up. Ready, Daniel. Ready, Master. They put their hands together in the simple team gesture Daniel showed them. He says sincerely, Zyriko is right. Our first priority is making it home safe. Relax and do everything the same as we practiced. They nod and pump their hands together with a simple cheer. It is the dawn of the secret nuclear age of the world of Zencon. One pioneered by a mechanic jack of all trades, master of none.